With Danger and Battaglia.
An untimed down for this Giants offense from the Bills' 1 yard line. It all comes down to this.
There's the snap, fakes the handoff, throws it into the end zone. It's incomplete. Intended for Darren Waller. Taron Johnson in coverage caused enough disruption to force the incompletion. The game is over, and the Bills escape.
Unbelievable, tough, gritty win, but man, was it ugly. And it was excruciating for Bills fans. Man, it was painful to watch.
It's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it.
It was not easy. I'm proud of the way the guys found a way.
Mike Danger.
I say it all the time. Winning is one hell of a deodorant. And, hey, it is.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, they won yesterday, but I don't think you get a cookie for yesterday.
No cookies. No cookies at all.
Cookies.
This isn't Dion logic. A win is a win. A loss is a loss.
The Giants made history last night.
A terrible mistake by the Giants as they don't get the playoff and get no points out of it.
What are we doing?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. You found Rochester's only local sports talk show. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us, listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Maybe you're listening elsewhere on the free-to-download Odyssey app. We appreciate that. You're checking out the video stream at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. You can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Here, present, and sleep-deprived, I am Mike Danger. He is Gene Battaglia.
Oh, I got it at 3:08, buddy. But if you get 5, I think that's fine. When you're an adult, 5 hours, you should be able to function. Did you get your 5?
Just under 5.
I got to credit the executive producer if she's listening. She got up with, made sure the boy was out the door and everything.
Yeah, so that's good. My responsibilities in the morning, usually I've got to get my nephew on the school bus. So he gets dropped off at our house right around 7:20, 7:30-ish. And I don't know how all y'all felt after that game. I was wired. It was one of those games where, whenever the Bills play in primetime like that, those are hard for me to the mind keeps racing. I'm just thinking constantly. You're just racing. I close my eyes, and all I'm thinking about is this play, that play, this take, that take, this player, that. So I can't wind down.
Yeah, I was not wound down. I go out to the stadium and I work these games. I also work on the side for the Associated Press, and I get their sound bites and everything that you hear across the country, and take some time to kind of cut it up, whatever. Well, point being, I don't get out of the stadium till late, but on the Odyssey app, you can listen to WFAN, which I'm like, okay, let me engage myself here because it's late. Let me listen to some of the sports talk.
Well, that must have been a fun ride home.
This was my favorite take from the host in New York last night.
Let me hear it.
Tyrod gives the Giants a better chance to win. Tyrod and the offense look much improved. I'm like, oh my God, you scored 9 points. 9. What are we talking about?
9 times.
It's just brilliant New York sports talk radio fan. That's just peak New York sports talk radio, is it not?
It is. Not that Daniel Jones is anything, but Tyrod is limited. Giant fans, you will come to know this. And that bonehead play he made at the end of the first half. Now, I'll listen to the argument that ultimately that's Brian Daboll who should coach his guys up to say, when we're in this situation, there is no audible. Period. Case closed. So if you're not familiar, Tyrod, it's a pass play that's called. Sean McDermott baits Tyrod essentially by lining up saying, here you go, run the football. And then all of a sudden, the Bills close the gap, and that's it. And once the play was run, it's like, oh, my God, they're not even going to get 3
all
here.
Last week, one of the things we kept hearing was, well, Brian Daboll knows Sean McDermott, knows Josh Allen, knows all the tendencies. We didn't really talk about how that goes both ways, and especially when you consider that Tyrod was starting this game, and you kind of know everything that you need to know about Tyrod, strengths, weaknesses, both physical and mental. And you tricked him. Sean McDermott tricked him. Brian Daboll's tendencies, good, bad, or otherwise. Brian Daboll, I said it last week, and look, we all like Brian Daboll. We all wish Brian Daboll the best. I'm not confident that Brian Daboll is anything more than a good offensive coordinator in the NFL. I don't know that one playoff appearance makes Brian Daboll a good coach. Yes, he was coach of the year last year. Who do they give coach of the year to year after year after year? The coach who overachieves, the coach who exceeds expectations. Nobody thought the Giants were a playoff team. He got into the playoffs. He gets coach of the year. I don't know that he is a good head coach. And the Tyrod play that you mentioned at the end of the first half is one knock. I hate how he handled that, just undressing Tyrod after that play, walking into the locker room, not talking to Melissa Stark and admitting to Melissa Stark that I'm so rattled by this. You're the head coach. If you're rattled by it, you can't really give that off to your team, to the media, to anybody. And Brian Daboll, we've seen that out of him. We knew he was an emotional guy when he was the offensive coordinator of Buffalo. We laugh and joke about the Miami game where he, came down to the last throw and Josh Allen throws it to Charles Clay and he can't squeeze it, and Brian Daboll just collapses on the field, falls on the field, like very emotional guy. And it's okay to be an emotional guy. It's okay to be an emotional head coach. But when you're in that position, you do have to have a certain kind of, you have to be a little bit more presidential, I think.
Yeah. This stat last night, we got calls coming in, 585-8664-FAN. We'll tell you what's coming up on the show, but let me pass this on. This is, how rare was last night, Danger? So the Giants had more passing yards. They had more rushing yards in the game. They had more fumble recoveries. They had more interceptions. They missed fewer field goals. All 5 things, when that happens for a team, entering last night, 134-0 in NFL history. That was the first time in NFL history that a team had everything going for them and didn't come away with a W.
Oh, don't worry, Gene. All day long, I had Kurt Warner telling me in the new NFL PSA that this is a weird game. Weird things happen. You really shouldn't gamble on the NFL. You should really know your limits. You should really know when to walk away because weird things can happen in the NFL. Oh, you think? Thanks, Kurt Warner. Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you. I didn't know, but I appreciate that. Here's what's on tap in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia, and on tap at Three Heads Brewing, Mexican dark lager. Enjoy this traditional Vienna-style lager made popular by some Mexican breweries. Enjoy yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today, or you can join us on Friday. We will be there this Friday for Friday Football Talk Live.
Yeah, 3 to 6 we'll be out there, the sports bar at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue as... Hey, it's the Patriots. Okay, everybody take a deep breath. They may be the worst team in the league. So come on out and start your weekend with us at Three Heads Brewing coming up on Friday.
Lost to the Raiders. Lost to Brian Hoyer. Oh, the Patriots. We'll talk more about them here later today and throughout the course of the week, obviously. Today, a lot of recapping what we saw last night from Orchard Park. And we'll be joined in the 4 o'clock hour by Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com.
Yeah, so we'll get his thoughts as... By the time Ryan comes on, Sean McDermott scheduled to speak at 4 o'clock, so we'll kind of react to that in real time, too, because there's going to be some news, I would think, as far as an update on Josh Allen. So last night after the game, Danger, we're all staying, waiting to go into the Bills' locker room, and then, that's Josh Allen walking over to the x-ray room. Oh, that's not good. He was in there for about 10 minutes, came out, still in his uniform, basically, and then came back over. So they were looking at the shoulder. Now, what Sean McDermott said then in his press conference about a half hour later said everything was trending in the right direction. But still, that's your quarterback getting checked out after the game. So that's of concern. Also, Damian Harris, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, released from the hospital today. It's a neck injury, and that's certainly good news that I don't know what his status is going to be for this week, much less the rest of the season. But a scary moment last night, certainly, but everything's going to be okay for Damian Harris.
And I think with Josh Allen and his shoulder, that shoulder wasn't bothering him when he was lowering it to mix it up against the Giants defensive linemen that were mixing it up with his offensive linemen. Allen being a part of that. Like if you're an offensive lineman and you see your quarterback mixing it up with the defenders, I love that. You gotta love that.
No. And here's it. Okay, well, that's the play that he got hurt on. When we had Allen at training camp, it came up about the Netflix, about Patrick Mahomes chirping, and we asked him, do you chirp? And he talked about how he can snap, basically. So Allen does have a trigger in him. If you're another team, I'm trying to trigger Josh Allen. Honestly, if you can, absolutely,
right.
Trying to work.
But if he plays angry, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think when he plays with an urgency and a different level of competitiveness, I think he's almost hard to stop, right? Like when he's collected and he's playing within himself, a lot of times you see him do things that instinctually that go against his instincts. He doesn't tuck and run as much as he used to. He plays within himself. But when there's a sense of urgency, you get a different Josh Allen. Anyways, we'll also talk later this hour. Mike Catalana, 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com. The Icon stops by. We'll get his thoughts on yesterday's win from Orchard Park.
Yeah, he was out there last night too, and I'm sure he'll get his Phillies take in.
Game 1 of the Phillies tonight. Yeah, you got a couple of aces going tonight between the Phillies and Diamondbacks. So we'll get Catalana's take on the NLCS while we have him as well. You can join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Let's take your calls here, your reaction, and I don't know, it's a win, but it feels like Blame Assessment Monday here, doesn't it? It's a little bit here, as he quite often does. Tim in San Diego leading us off on a Monday. Hey, Tim. How are you?
Tim.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Has there ever been a more polarizing win than last night for Buffalo? I mean, it was ridiculous.
If they would have lost that game, we said last week, Tim, that would have been the most embarrassing loss in Buffalo Bills regular season history.
Agreed. And obviously the most embarrassing loss of the McDermott era. But I'm telling you guys, I don't know. These games have to stop happening, and I don't know what's going on. But it just, at the same time, this has been a thing about the McDermott era is you have these games where it's like, oh my God, they should blow out the Giants by 30. Granted, yes, they have injuries on defense, and Gabe Davis, I mean, talk about enigmatic. He's probably the most enigmatic receiver in Bills history, as far as I'm concerned. It's just, and there's a lot of blame to go around. But at the end of the day, yes, they did win. But like you said, it feels like a blame assessment Monday. It feels like it feels like a loss, and they were seconds away, and a great non-call by the refs on Taron Johnson by getting a little Chiefs treatment, from a loss. And that shouldn't have happened. They shouldn't have been put in that situation. Say what you want about Daboll, Daboll's familiarity with Buffalo and all of that. That shouldn't have been the result last night. It should have been, at least, the Bills should have won by 2 touchdowns or more.
No doubt about it, Tim. And now I'm kind of wondering about, you bring up Gabe Davis. I want to go back to him because do you trust him as a number 2 here? Or are you thinking trade deadline? Is that a position you want to go get here in a couple weeks?
Well, I think you have to give. I mean, I'm familiar with Khalil Shakir playing at Boise State, watching him play against SDSU. But he's got great hands. He's not probably number 2 like a Gabe Davis because he doesn't quite have the speed. But if you have a Trent Sherfield, if you got a Deontay Hardy already there that that can provide speed for you, maybe it's something you look at because you got to give those guys a chance too. They brought in Deontay Hardy for his speed, but they don't utilize him at all. Trent Sherfield, same thing. And Khalil Shakir, I mean, to me, would be a great slot guy. So maybe it's something you consider because it's just, I don't think right now the way Davis is playing, he's not worthy of an extension, in my opinion.
He's a number 2, in my opinion. I think what you get with Gabe Davis. He has the potential to be a number 1, and I think for another team, maybe a team with inferior talent, he would be a number 1. But I don't think he's anything more than a number 2.
He's going to get paid by somebody as a number 1. That's going to be,
and he should. Yeah. He should. But it's clear that the longer that he's here, he can make spectacular catches as well. We don't talk a lot about the really, really spectacular Gabe Davis catches because we're so used to seeing them. I mean, especially when he was first came in the league, and the connection between he and Josh Allen downfield, and the sideline grabs and the toe taps and the toe drags. Gabe Davis can make the spectacular catches look routine, and the routine catches, for some reason, just don't come easy to him. It is a little baffling, but I think he's a solid 2 for this team, and he'll probably get paid to be a 1 somewhere else next year.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate the call. Starting us off, our number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Rodney in Rochester. Hello, Rodney.
Hello. Good morning, guys. Oh, my God. What a debacle that was yesterday. And I think the worst part of it was with the shoulder thing, where was he going to be a tough guy now, Josh Allen? I mean, what's this all about?
Yeah, I don't know that he now did we get confirmation that he hurt his shoulder when he went into the skirmish? Because there was the play where he got hit, where he had to go out after they thought it was his head, but maybe it wasn't his head. He went into the tent. That was before the skirmish. The skirmish happened after that. So if he hurt his shoulder on that play, he kind of went in and banged his shoulder again. And I'm not a doctor or a physical therapist, but Nikki Sines is, and he's texting me his,
so what is he saying?
His expert opinion here. This is he's like our own pro football doc here. The way he landed on his shoulder, pretty positive it's his AC joint that they're looking at. He's going to be sore for a while. If it was a rotator cuff or labrum issue, he wouldn't have been able to throw like he did in the second half.
Yeah. So pain management essentially.
Fine. And that was kind of what he had to deal with last year with the elbow. It affected him a little bit, but look, at this point of the season, you're going to get these bumps, these bruises, these aches, these pains. You're not going to miss any time. It doesn't sound like. And by the way, if you did miss time, could you get by with him this week with the Patriots? I wouldn't want to see that, but if there was a game, maybe this is the game.
Mac Jones, assuming he's starting this week, they may go with Cunningham, actually. Like, can you imagine if, the Patriots roll him out this week? It might actually be.
I told him they should have done it week one.
Yeah.
You saw him in the preseason. I'm like, that guy's better than what you have in this roster. He's better than Jones. He's better than Zappi. He should be your starter week one. Do it, you coward.
Anybody else would have benched Mac Jones by now. Rodney, thank you for the call. Appreciate that at 866-4326.
Quickly on the end of the game. Because if you were listening to the fan in New York City, I'm sure you had Giants fans complaining about the officiating. And I just want to remind everybody, accentuate that when you complain about not getting a call after your team loses, all it does is accentuate your loser energy. Knock it off. You could be upset that they didn't get the call. Let's role play it out. Let's pretend we know what happened. Let's do a choose your own adventure. Let's say they call pass interference on Taron Johnson, final play of the game, and you get another untimed down. And let's say, once again, you try to go to the end zone, throw the ball to the end zone to Darren Wall, and once again, he gets mugged. Like, how we could do this forever and ever and ever, or you could do what smart coaches would do in that situation, run the ball. But you couldn't run the ball. You were afraid to run the ball.
Yeah.
You're a coward, and you couldn't run you wanted to exploit a matchup, which is fine. But you can't complain that there's no chance that ref is going to throw a flag multiple times in a row. And there's no chance that any DB isn't going to be handsy when you have an untimed down and you're trying to prevent a touchdown from being scored.
What's weird about this is when Daboll came in his first game. Do you remember how his first game played out? I remember. They were in Nashville, and they're down. And they score a touchdown, and it's the old, should we kick an extra point or go for two? We're going for two. And they give it to Saquon, and they win the game. Everybody's like, oh, Brian Daboll. Now he's a coward like most coaches. That's the way I view it.
Fourth and inches.
You have Saquon.
You have Saquon. You had fourth and inches earlier in the game.
Yes.
You opted to kick the field goal. I mean, I know that the Bills' defensive line has been great this year, and you got burned at the end of the first half. But you still have Saquon Barkley. You're paying him all that money. And look, the Waller matchup is one that I would probably want to exploit as well. But you can't complain about not getting that call. It could have gone both ways, right? Like Waller had his hand on Taron Johnson's face. Like, to what end? To what end are we going to do this dance? We're going to keep doing it over and over again? Okay, we'll get a third untimed down. We're going to try the play again. Okay, there's another pass interference. You're going to get it every single play.
So, again, small sample size, but from what I was listening, the callers were not blaming the officials. What I would say is, and look, this is our business danger. People say people have agendas. Pro Football Talk, Florio has an agenda. Whenever there's an officiating issue, he's going to put the big old spotlight on it. And I don't think that was egregious last night. It really wasn't. It's debatable, and that makes it fun.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't like, oh, my God, that's the word.
Well, earlier in the broadcast, Collinsworth was like, well, if you grab a handful of jersey, they're going to call that every time. Well, Johnson had a handful of jersey there at the end of the game. They didn't call it. They didn't
was
want to call it.
Was it catchable though?
The Waller at the end of the play? Yeah, at the end of the game, I think it was. I think that the ref, tucked the laundry a little bit deeper into his pocket. I think he wasn't going to make that same call twice in a row. He's afraid.
It's like sidebar. I called him a Quade Brighton High School game. Oh, I can't even comment on it because Section 5 officials, you guys do a great job, but it's like it's a tough job for being an official.
Sure.
The way that game
Yeah, and especially when you have fans in the end zone who are already mad that you called the pass interference to begin with to lead to the one. So I think that the ref could have called pass interference there, but didn't. And because even if he would have, we would have gone through this whole dance again unless the Giants decided to do what they should have done, which is run Saquon Barkley, something they weren't comfortable doing because they knew the Buffalo Bills were going to key on Saquon Barkley. All right, we're going to take a break and come back. Mike Catalana, 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com. He's going to join us next with his thoughts from last night's win. We'll kind of look over, and we haven't talked about the performance of a few key players out there. I mean, look, we had Kyer Elam getting out there for a second game, and Christian Benford with no Dane Jackson out there. Both of them got beat deep in that game. We got to see more of the rookie Dorian Williams in place of Matt Milano. I didn't see anything in terms of any sort of rotation there at linebacker, and more about the defensive line. Somebody that you mentioned to me before we got on the air, Gino, where was Von Miller?
Yeah.
Very quiet kind of day for Von Miller. But we'll get into all of that with Mike Catalana when he joins us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Sports Update.
Some good news on this Monday, as according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Damian Harris has been released from a Buffalo area hospital. He has a neck injury. Sean McDermott talking about his defense coming up big at the end of each half.
Yeah, I mean, again, before half, they tried to run it, and our guys shut it down, and then the half ran out. And then in that one, they tried to throw it, and we made the play there too. So we're proud of the guys.
McDermott to talk to reporters coming up at 4 o'clock today, where we hope to get an update on Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Allen getting his shoulder checked out following the game last night. We'll talk to 13 Wham's Mike Catalana coming up next here in the Sports Bar. Buffalo Sabres 0-2 to start the season. Tampa Bay coming to town tomorrow night. ALCS Game 2 coming up next hour. Game 1 of the NLCS coming up tonight. Phillies and Diamondbacks. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Just really wasn't getting into a rhythm. That's pass and run game included. We got to find ways to get off to a fast start, and I don't think we've done that the last few games. So, at the end of the day, it's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it. But there's a lot of things that we got to learn from and get better at.
There's Josh Allen after the Bills win last night on Sunday Night Football in an ugly fashion. It's a victory Monday that feels more like a blame assessment Monday. Weird how that works. Mike Catalana, 13 Wham Sports, and BuffaloPlus.com joining us to make sense of all of it. Let's start with that, Mike, if we can. Josh Allen there talking about not having a rhythm. And I hear that word, and I'm like, yeah, that's the word, that's the catalyst for those guys. Doesn't it feel like when they are in a rhythm, they're impossible to stop? They can't quite get into a rhythm these last couple of games. Mike, do we know how many plays are scripted to start the game that Dorsey does? Does he script anything at all? I mean, I wonder if they're kind of at the mercy of whatever Dorsey has planned to start the game, and when it doesn't work, it sets them up for failure the rest of the game.
I don't think the Bills are any different than any other team. I think you have early plays scripted, and I think fans also need to understand when they talk about scripts, it's based on the plan to do it. It doesn't mean if this was the third play you have called and you're first and goal at the 1 yard line, you're running that play. So there's adjustments to that. Look, a few weeks ago, Ken Dorsey had that rhythm. When you go back to that 3-game winning streak, that game against the Dolphins, they dominated them. They scored 48 points. They crushed them. They look like the best form of this offense since, I would say, the heyday of 2021 when, they had that perfect game against the Patriots, that type of offense. So they've had it before. When I look at rhythm and that type of energy, I think it's when a team is confident in the play call, they know their assignments, they execute their assignments, and they play with a pace. It doesn't mean they're rushing. It doesn't mean there has to be no huddle. It just means they step to the line with a feeling that we're making a play. And you can tell with this Bills team, there are times when they're like, if it's not Steph and Josh, it ain't happening. And that's what we saw last night. Like, no other wide receiver stepped up. Guys missed blocks. Guys missed blitzing players. I mean, the Giants stink. That's a bad football team. They can't get to the quarterback and can't protect their quarterback, yet they made the Bills look bad. And I think a lot of it's on coaching, but there's a point where it's on the players too. So that's when I think of that rhythm he's talking about. That's what I think is when you are in sync and confident, and they did not look that way last night.
We were debating this earlier. I don't want my quarterback getting involved in throwing shoulders like that. I would assume Sean McDermott's going to pull his quarterback aside there and like, hey, there will be kind of some chippiness at some point, but Josh, you know what? Don't be that guy.
Yeah, I think he said it after the game. He was like, yeah, I appreciate Josh sticking up for his guys at 17, needs to be standing to the side. First of all, quarterbacks get protected all the time, right? They do on big hits in certain situations. And Josh is a big, strong, tough kid. He's not a defensive lineman.
And those guys will get their shots at you. And, that can tick some people off. The way Josh plays is awesome. But when he embarrasses another player, they keep that in their mind. And, yeah, I get him sticking up for his guys. But seriously, especially like throwing your shoulder, like that's not the brightest thing in the world. So appreciate the sentiment. Just don't do it because you're putting yourself at more risk than a regular player is based on the position that you play.
I imagine we'll learn more about that shoulder that he went and got some pictures taken of after the game. Mike, what was your initial reaction to Josh Allen getting some x-rays after the win?
Yeah, we were standing there at the locker room, and he was walking across. You see that walk all the time. The guy leaves the locker room, goes across to right near where the visiting locker room is and goes in and gets the x-rays done. They do that all the time. Josh looked a little beaten up after the game. It was a win, but nobody was really celebrating. Sure, better than a loss. I looked at him, and sometimes you can tell. You couldn't tell he was moving, walking. Here's what it is with this guy. I saw him walk in Tampa with a walking boot on, and he ends up playing the next week, right? You've seen him have concussions and come back in a week. Last year, he gets blasted on the shoulder, and he plays. He will play. I don't know anything to this point. Sean McDermott will have something at 4, my guess, but he's going to have other tests. But unless it's something that he can't play, he will play. He will play through it. And he did last year when we know he wasn't right. So on the plus side, I don't think they sensed it was anything that was going to keep him out. But you wonder how healthy he is and what he needs to get that right. He just looked – Jenna used the word last night. She goes, he kind of looked disheveled when he came in the press conference room. And he kind of did, But that was a physical game with a lot of nonsense going on. And I think he needs to sort of take a breath. But I don't know. I hope it's just what you expect it to be, which is had some more tests. We'll take it. He's day to day. Maybe he sits out Wednesday. They do that sometimes and then gets out there and practices.
13 Wham's Mike Catalana, who was at the stadium last night with Dan and Jenna, part of the Buffalo Plus team. And I think there's one pot. Okay, you held the Giants to 9 points, and I would think more often than not you're going to win games in this league when you're holding opponents to that few. But, Mike, there were questions entering this game, specifically, all right, no more Matt Milano. You have Dorian Williams coming in, and you seem to really like the game that the middle linebacker Terrell Bernard had last night.
I just like the way he plays. I like his how active he is. I saw him at times out in zone coverage over helping helpless Kaiir Elam. He's very good in the run game. Look, he's got things he needs to work on. But I got to tell you, that is the by far biggest positive for this team this year, for what you expected and what you're getting. The kid got hurt in camp, and you're like, oh, he hasn't even played. And then all of a sudden he's there, and he's the linebacker, and he gets the job, and he's been outstanding. And I got to tell you, I'm seeing flashes from Dorian Williams.
Yeah.
Look, if you could get Matt Milano back, you would do it in a heartbeat. He's Matt Milano. But I am seeing some things there. I want to see that kid on the field more. I like the athleticism in the linebackers, and they need it because they don't have a lot of that in the rest of the back seven. They really don't. It is not a athletic group in general. So in the linebackers, it's good, but we'll see. We'll see where they are. But honestly, that went from a massive question mark to an absolute positive, I think, up to this point.
Well, I want to talk about the secondary with you, Mike, but before we do that, it felt like Von Miller was largely invisible last night. Did you get the same sense?
Yeah, usually you see Von, he's got that burst. Now, I don't know if he feels 100%. Von, he's always positive, the way he talks. They are kind of ramping him up. But the one thing about Von is it feels like he could just walk out there and have that burst and be impactful. I watched him a lot last week in London when he was on the field. You don't see it, but you're like, okay, it's the first game. Now it's the second game, and he just doesn't. Now, I don't know what they thought. It would be interesting to hear what the Bills thought about his comeback. They did that strange thing last year with Trey White, in a game where they actually, limited his snaps as a corner. He played like 15 snaps in that game in Detroit and then sat down to try to ramp him up, and then they increased and increased. With Von, it's quality over quantity, but we haven't seen the quality. Now it's 2 games in after ACL surgery. Maybe it's going to take him a month to get there. But I got to tell you, man, that being said, the way Epinesa is playing, Rousseau is playing, this is what you wanted to see, right? These guys, and Leonard Floyd is a tough dude. He is not healthy, and he's fighting out there all the time. 6.5 sacks already. So on the plus side, I don't know if this is the right way to say it, they can be patient for Von to get back to being Von because other guys have really, really done a pretty good job.
Mike, I don't know if there's an answer out there that come the trade deadline, which, oh my gosh, we're only 15 days away from, right? As far as the corner position, and I guess the best solution is get Dane Jackson healthy right now. But what did you see last night out of Kaiir Elam?
There's a bullseye on him. There just is. And we were talking about it driving home at 2:30 in the morning this morning. That's what the life is in those home night games after all of our post game, is that I thought he was better last year. He looked more confident, unless teams have just zeroed in on him. But like the holding play in the end zone, like I get it. The guy's going by you. You grab him because you don't want to give up 6. But, when that guy runs straight into you and you just grab him, you force the ref to make a call. And I got to tell you, I was really watching him. I was joking with Jackson Roberts from Channel 10, and Jenna was there. Got Jackson to get a pair of binoculars. I told him it's an old man move, but that's what we do in the press box. And then Jenna uses the binoculars while we're sitting there. But it is nice because you can watch a player, and I'm watching Kaiir, and he's on single coverage with Hyatt. And I'm just watching, I see the snap, and Hyatt just makes a move and blows by him. And it was a illegal formation, like, when they blow the whistle, like right after the snap. And that kid had him beat. And I'm just looking, going, that was too easy. And then, he had the holding call. He looks lost to me. Now, Sean's trying to stick up, said he made a nice tackle. That's great. But I don't know. They need him to be something at the moment. And, they brought in Josh Norman. That's the kind of guy you bring in. I've heard guys talk about him being like a mentor. They got coaches to do that. Like, I don't know if Josh Norman. You need a guy that can play. You need a guy that can step in there and play. I think they could definitely be in the market at the deadline for a corner. But, guys, you might want to go the other route. You might want to go get another weapon for Josh Allen and say, screw it, guys. We're going to go score some points. We're going to get a guy, whether it's a Hunter Renfrow or somebody who's going to catch some balls over the middle, that's been there and done that. We're going to do more for this offense, and we're going to put 30 up every game as opposed to in the 20s. Well, less, obviously, last night. So I don't know what Bean's plan is, but I think he's got to do something probably on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, is it a lack of trust offensively? When you see Steph Diggs get targeted 16 times, clearly they have a thing. Now, maybe there's a part of that that's strategic. You target Diggs as much as you target, and then when you need to get Deontay Hardy open on that first touchdown, the design of that play I thought was magnificent, and it was all because they were focused on Diggs getting the ball in the red zone. But do you think that a wide receiver, somebody that you could complement with Diggs and Davis, could be the route that they go?
Yeah, I think they need that. I so badly for this team have wanted to see Gabe be that number 2 guy, and he's had moments, but not enough and not consistently enough. And last night he was invisible except really for the fumble. And he's a talented guy, but maybe his talent lies in being that third guy. That's what we keep saying. Or, they thought in terms of Kincaid, and he wasn't on the field last night, and taking over some stuff in the middle. Look, they targeted Diggs that many times because they needed to get the ball to somebody who's going to make a play. He gets open all the time. I mean, he is a tremendous route runner. They know it's coming. They still can't stop him. And last night, he probably should have thrown it to him 20 times. And that's not a long-term recipe for success, but if you're sitting there watching it, you're saying to yourself, what works for this team? Throw it to Diggs, right? That was the only thing that worked. And they definitely need somebody who, steps up at the right time. That's why it's a shame the trade deadline. Honestly, I think it's too early in the NFL. I think they should give the teams another 2 or 3 weeks now that the schedule goes even farther. But I would be looking for that. There's teams that look to make some moves. Guys aren't playing for whatever reason. Guys that still have some juice to them.
All right, let me throw you a name here, Mike, because there's a team that I think is out of it. A team that hasn't scored 30 points in 23 straight games, and they're on the bye this week. And they already paid the bonus. Would you pick up the phone and talk to Tennessee about Hopkins? Yeah,
I probably would. It depends on how I'm looking at it, if I'm being. Because I can't imagine, it's easy. Dorsey deserves a lot of the blame. He has not, at least consistently enough, found that works. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. We've talked about this before. When I look at the Bills' weapons, and I had these conversations with people within the Bills, and they were telling me of how good everything was going to be. And I'm like, you have Diggs. He's awesome. But if you take Diggs out with the other guys, how many teams would you trade your weapons for? And certainly at the wide receiver position. Who are they? They're better than the Patriots, who are terrible, or the team they played last night, who just doesn't have it. Diggs makes you a mediocre wide receiver group, and he's a special player. I don't think that's being unfair. It's Trent Sherfield and Gabe, and right? What do we see out there? So I don't think they've done enough at that position. It looked pretty good for a little while when they were running it a little bit better, but to count on guys, look. Yeah, I might make that phone call and see what it would cost you to do that, because they need a guy that's going to at least scare another team that at least they care about. And then maybe, Gabe sliding into that third role makes him even more valuable to the team.
Mike, James Cook got it going, especially once they got in the second half there, over 5 yards a carry, 71 yards on the night. Why do you think it takes so long for the Bills to kind of get him going, get him involved when you see him throughout the course of the day?
Yeah, I honestly think for them the pass can set up the run, and they weren't passing it effectively. And then I think they caught him a little bit by surprise on that drive, and they started to move the ball, and he looked really good. I think he's a really good player. You see the difference. The Giants can't do anything, but when Barkley gets going, you just see the difference in that back, right? You saw the way he ran. By the way, he ran by me after the game was over. Not ran by me. I was there. He ran. Okay. He's leaving the field. That man, Barkley, was fuming about not getting the ball in the last drive. I believe he said it. I'll paraphrase. He said, "Darn it, I wish they would have thrown me or handed me the ball on that last drive." Yeah. Something to that effect. He was fired up. When I'm saying is, when you see that, you're seeing a guy who obviously can get stopped at any point, but also at any point he can just make you look silly. I don't think James Cook is that, but I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's a good player, and I think there is reason to be encouraged on what he's doing. But he's not I think he's a good player. I don't think he's a weapon, if that makes sense, right? He's not the guy they're going, we got to do something about Cook. He's good. And he can do some things. But honestly, I think the pass game, or the thought of the pass game, sets it up. And I got to tell you, our boy Fates is just out of his mind with the way they do the runs. And he's just shotgun handoffs is a play you use to switch it up a little bit. Get Josh under center. Use the play action. I even heard a guy last night, he was like, you got to be able to run the ball to use play action. I'm sorry, the numbers don't show that. Play action works all the time. If a team just sees a hint of a run, you can get linebackers to pause for a second, and it's effective, whether you're running well or not. And it just doesn't work unless you put Josh under center. He's not running RPOs like Jalen Hurts or somebody. He's Josh Allen. Get him under center. He was really good at it in a few games, and they got away from it. So that also hurts the run game.
My Carolina 13 Wham, also part of the Buffalo Plus team, and now we turn our attention to this week. I think it's funny, Mike, because this used to be, it's the Patriots. This is the measuring stick for the Buffalo Bills. How the world has kind of changed. Are the Patriots the worst team in the NFL, Mike Carolina?
They're a Sunday 1 o'clock team, guys. They are Sunday, 1 o'clock. The Bills have 2 scheduled 1 o'clock Sunday games. It's the Patriots. That's who they are. They're boring. I won't say that, they're poorly coached, certainly based on what he has been. They're poorly general managed. Their roster is not good. Mac Jones had a couple of flashes in that game, and he threw a couple of good balls. I mean, that's like old school Bills being encouraged by what Trent Edwards is doing. Like, that's who they are now. And look, it doesn't mean you walk in there and win. We just saw the Bills against a bad Giants team at home struggle. So, as bad as the Bills offense looked, it's still better than the Patriots, but you still got to go in there and play. And, we'll see, but I got to tell you, they are, I'll put it to you this way. They're a team that you look at and go, where's the hope, right? That's what you sell in the NFL. It's either you're either good, you're ascending, or there's hope that you can do it. Or you're thinking, okay, we got this young coach and we're getting the number 1 pick and we're going to go get Caleb Williams. And no, it's Bill Belichick in his ways, which obviously is making him probably the greatest of all time, but not today. So it'll be really interesting going into that place next week. I've obviously been there so many times when the Bills were just so inferior and it was inevitable they were going to lose. It's different now. It's different when they walk in there. Everybody knows they're the better team, but the Bills team's got to worry about themselves first and wake up and go get a division win because, that Jets loss still looms large for them.
Well, the Bills favored on Sunday. The Eagles favored against the Dolphins on Sunday. If the Vegas lines hold, the Bills will be in first place by this time next week.
Yeah, I got to tell you, look, it's been a struggle for the Eagles, and anybody around me here, they say, oh, you say that. I knew they were going to struggle against the Jets. I think they still should have won the game. They kind of choked it away, made some bad decisions. But that Jets defense, even though, Robert Saleh, I told you the phrase, you're either humble or about to be humbled.
Yeah.
That dude's not humble at all. He's talking a lot of trash, telling you he embarrassed 3 quarterbacks. Kind of did. But you usually don't say that, but that's the way he's talking. But that's what they did to Hurts yesterday. They are banged up. They were short, I think, 6 or 7 starters on defense by the time the game got to the third quarter. And that's not a good recipe to play against the Dolphins. And Lane Johnson, I think they got pretty good news on him. But when Lane Johnson doesn't play, they struggle. So I don't know how they're stopping the Dolphins this week. I really don't. They're going to have to score some points, and it didn't look good last week. But that will be, honestly, I'll be surprised if the Eagles win that game on Sunday night because, Miami can crank it up offensively, and right now the Eagles are, they're 5-1, but they're not playing great.
Mike, let's be honest. Baseball has to go back to reseeding here. This is an embarrassing kind of bracket here. Really, you get the Diamondbacks. Congratulations on advancing to the World Series, Mike.
Well, I don't understand. Why is that? The Phillies were that team last year, and they went to the World Series.
Oh, the Phillies Braves should have been the NLCS. That's my point. That if you had actual kind of reseeding after the wild card round, that you would actually have a matchup with the 2 best teams in the National League, rather than all right, this feels like kind of a letdown. That last week felt like the main event.
Yeah, you could say that. I don't know. It's 2 years in a row the Phillies have done that to the Braves and gotten to advance. Last year, Padres gave them all they could handle, and they ended up needing that homer to avoid the 7th game from Harper, and they ended up going to the World Series. So yeah, you can do that. I know. I'll put it to you this way. Honestly, let's be totally honest. Everybody hates the Astros. Nobody cares about Texas, and nobody cares about Arizona outside of their home fans.
Yes.
And the Phillies are the team that there's people that love them and there's people that hate them. And some neutral people have really had fun watching them because they're a fun team to watch. But it's not a great Final Four for Major League Baseball. Would you agree with that in general?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But I think if you had a rematch, even actually just the Phillies in the World Series, I think makes for a compelling World Series.
I think by now, too, I mean, we joke about it all the time, but maybe the narrative on Philly fans could slow down a little bit. We have our history, but it is by far the best atmosphere in Major League Baseball. It's what Yankee Stadium was in the mid-'90s when it was just an incredibly difficult place to play. I mean, they dominate teams. It's a football atmosphere.
Yeah.
And obviously the Eagles have been very good at home, especially in the playoffs. It's a great atmosphere there. So, you know, I mean, honestly, I haven't seen – it's more like a hockey home ice advantage sometimes when they play there. It really is. I mean, so can we settle down with the snowballs at Santa Claus, batteries from 40 years ago? You tell me, like when Trey Turner saw that place, he's like, I want to play there.
Yeah.
I want to play there. Wow. You look at Castellanos. Look at the way he's responded. So that part's fun. That's great TV. I think they have an element of that in Texas. It looks like the fans have gotten into it, which is cool. But, yeah. And you don't give me this guarantee in the team. You know, I know the way you Mets fans are. You're sitting
wait.
there.
Whoa. Unprovoked, Mike. Unprovoked.
Yeah, but I mean, you're in the World Series. No, they got to win. They got to win 4 games. Like, this is what you got to do. And, you know, nothing is a given. Nothing is a given. Look at last year. They make the World Series. They hit 47 home runs against the Astros, and they get no hit in the next game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what happens in baseball. So,
look, if you win it all, I will congratulate you. I will shake your hand if you allow me to. But in the end, if you get to the World Series and you don't, then it's like, I guess it was a little more fun. But like
zero spite from the Met fan across from me right now, Mike.
Wearing a Met hat.
Zero spite whatsoever.
Aren't you just so sad when you just realize you tried and just failed so miserably and just gave up? You just gave up. You're like, it's like Charlie Brown after the ball got pulled out again and just putting his head down and walking back. He just knows it's going to happen, and then it does. It's kind of pitiful. It really is. Like, you're not even at least the Braves. The Braves have a great lineup. They need somebody. They need a guy to come in and like liven them up in the playoffs. But they got a great lineup, great young players. The Mets are like,
don't worry. Like, the Mets will be back in 2 years, Mike. And if the Mets help you, if the Mets get a championship before the Phillies here.
Get a championship in what?
You're on the doorstep. You got to close here.
They do. They were close last year. The Astros were really good. I'm sure they were cheating, but they won. So let's say, hey, look, tonight's big. Like, you know, you fight for this. It's 2 wild card teams. By the way, it is kind of funny. People are like, can you believe a 100-win team lost to a 90-win team? Yeah. What's that like? 13-win NFL team lost to an 11-win NFL team. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, it's a 5-game series. Phillies were hot. Braves weren't. They won. That's what happens.
It's such a wide range of outcomes, so many variables that go into each and every play, each and every pitch, each and every game. I mean, you're playing your best ball at the right time, and you can win.
The rookie center fielder for the Phillies misplays that ball, tracks it down. If he doesn't catch that ball, the Braves may very well win Game 4, and now you're going back to Atlanta for Game 5. It comes down to a kid who was in Double-A making a really good play after the bullpen started to implode. Like, sometimes that's over 162 games. That's one moment. Man, in the playoffs, it's massive. So things have gone their way. It's been really good for them so far. They're really good at home. But there's no pressure on the Diamondbacks, and they got some good young players, and they've played great. So, but thank you for the guarantee that the Phillies are in the World Series. I can guarantee you something. The Mets are not.
Mike.
Wow. This is what happens when he's sleep deprived.
Mike, it's Patriots
sleep deprived and Eagles choking away a game. Combine those two. It's like,
Mike, Patriot Week. What do you, Dan, and Jenna got going on there at BuffaloPlus.com this week that we can check out?
All right, so we're going to be talking to, like this week, we'll have our podcast coming out this week, breaking down the offense. We're going to let Fates just go off. It's what he does. We're going to talk to Mike Giardi, formerly of the NFL Network, reporter in Boston, knows that team, knows the Bills. He's always a great guest. We'll have him on. Dan will have his best bets. He's been on a pretty good roll. I'd give him a few more days before you have him on, because, he's still a little sensitive.
I saw him briefly, and I wasn't ready to go up to him last night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do have compassion.
Give him his space. That's good.
Yeah. Hey, I gave him plenty of space. I didn't say boo. I just enjoyed the win, but, I gave him a little space. So we'll have all that going on with Dan, Jenna, and myself, Buffalo Plus channel on YouTube.
Appreciate the time as always, Mike. Enjoy your week.
Let's go, Mets.
Thank you, Mike.
The best, the icon, 13-Web Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com, Mike Catalana. Some great thoughts there on last night's win.
That's what we do as sports fans, right? It's not just you got to give your buddies kind of
bust balls. Absolutely. It's fantastic. I love that. All right, we're going to have Ryan Talbot on. We'll have more Bills and Giants talk, and we'll look ahead to the Patriots here as well with Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com. He's joining us here in about a half an hour or so. We're going to take a break, come back. We'll have time for your calls. It's a Victory Monday that feels very eerily like a blame assessment Monday. Nobody's satisfied or satiated with the win and how the Bills won last night, and I get it. We want to talk about it. You can join us, 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, join me now. There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. Wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, FanDuel.com/Mike to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
What's the one place in Rochester to go have a drink, watch the game?
Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills running back Damian Harris has been released from a Buffalo area hospital. This according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He does have a neck injury. Head coach Sean McDermott admits last night it was a win, but it wasn't pretty.
Again, gutty performance, resilient. Sometimes you got to find a way. You don't have your A game, and you got to figure it out. And I thought our offense did a little bit of that in the second half, which is good to see.
McDermott to speak to reporters here shortly, where we hope to get an update on quarterback Josh Allen. Allen getting his shoulder checked out following the game last night. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills football later this hour. Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, will join us here in the Sports Bar. Not a good start for the Sabres this season. They're 0-2. Tampa Bay coming to Buffalo tomorrow night. It's game 1 of the NLCS tonight between the Phillies and the Braves. Game 2 between the Astros and the Rangers coming up here shortly. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
An untimed down for this Giants offense from the Bills' 1-yard line. It all comes down to this.
Here's the snap. Fakes the handoff. Throws it into the end zone. It's incomplete. Intended for Darren Waller. Taron Johnson in coverage caused enough disruption to force the incompletion. The game is over, and the Bills escape.
Unbelievable, tough, gritty win, but man, was it ugly. And it was excruciating for Bills fans. Man, it was painful to watch.
It's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it.
It was not easy. I'm proud of the way the guys found a way.
Mike Danger.
I say it all the time. Winning is one hell of a deodorant. And, hey, it is.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, they won yesterday, but I don't think you get a cookie for yesterday.
No cookies. No cookies at all.
Cookies. This isn't Dion logic. A win is a win. A loss is a loss.
The Giants made history last night.
A terrible mistake by the Giants as they don't get the playoff and get no points out of it.
What are we doing?
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Bills linebacker Terrell Bernard was a man on a mission last night. 12 tackles. Of those, 3 behind the line of scrimmage for tackles for a loss. Let's go ahead and make Terrell Bernard, the Fan Rochester's man on a mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today. You can reach out to us here on the Fan Rochester, at the Fan Rochester on Twitter. We got to give it up to one of our regulars, Chris, who sent us an image late last night. I don't know if you saw this yet or not, Gino. Chris and his wife had a friend who lived in Rochester for a while and now lives near where they live, which is down there in Kentucky. He came over to watch the game. He said it's been several years since he had a plate. My wife made him one. How'd she do? First of all, a keeper, okay? That's a keeper. She's making plates for you and for your friend. All right, looking over the plate here. We're going French fries instead of home fries.
I'm fine with that.
I prefer home fries. It's not a deal breaker. It's a preference. Pickles. Now, this is a Zweigel's plate. Pickles on the plate. I don't know that I've ever done pickles on a plate. And now I'm intrigued. I can't really stop thinking about it.
The pickle is an odd one. I don't.
What about cheese? You ever put cheese on a plate?
Well, cheeseburger, yeah.
But this is not a cheeseburger plate. This is a Zweigel's plate with pickles and then shredded cheese on top.
You can do your own thing, I suppose.
I mean, now I'm kind of intrigued. Now I feel like if I'm going to get a plate, I've got to try different things. Maybe I've deprived myself. I got to go pickles and I got to go cheese next time I get a plate.
Thanks, Chris. I'm in the mood for a plate now, buddy. I got 2 hours left in the show here.
Hey, another knock on Brian Daboll from last night. This was late in the game, and they were facing, what was it, like a 3rd and 8 or something like that, and then they went for it on 4th down. And both plays was Tyrod airing it out deep. You remember this, right?
Right.
Dude, you need 8. What are we doing? Like, if you're a Giant fan today, be more upset about the play calling and the mismanagement than about the officiating the final play of the game.
I was just marveling how I'm listening to New York radio, WFAN, last night driving home, and everybody giving kudos to Tyrod. Like, it was, we need to, like, start, whatever Daniel Jones, hey, if he's healthy, you know what? Give him another week off. Let's just see what this offense can do with Tyrod. Yeah. You scored 9 points.
Yeah, it was a very Tyrod stat line.
Yes.
When you saw the stat line, you go, oh, yeah, that looks very familiar. 200 yards passing. You mix in some rushing yards. No touchdowns. It felt very Tyrod-like. No turnovers. Almost. I mean, he just dropped the ball on one play. Very Tyrod stat line.
I think there's, as far as the Buffalo fan base, is there a fan base that buys more T-shirts about their team? Like, honestly. But this one I may invest in. Somebody sent this to me.
Let me see.
Shut up, Collinsworth. See, that's the benefit of going to the game last night. I didn't have to listen to that.
Gene flashing his phone there if you wanted to see a picture of that. Our stream is up, our video stream up at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe while you're there so we can get on stage and sing our own version of Into the Night by Benny Mardones. We've got Ryan Talbot joining us here in about 15 minutes or so, Gino. Before we get to Talbot, some takes?
Yes, as it's another great Sunday in the NFL. In fact, glorious, right? Where we have upsets and things you didn't expect. But this one you should have expected. In fact, this team gets a pass, and I don't know why. There's a team out there that I think, I'm not talking about the Patriots, a team that has no hope, a team with a head coach that somehow gets a pass, and now they're really kind of screwed. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Tennessee. That streak of not scoring 30 points in a game, now up to 23 straight games, the longest current streak in the NFL. And yeah, they were the number 1 seed 2 years ago playing in that division. That was almost an accident. We tend to give this team a pass because they play physical football. Look at Derrick Henry. When in reality, they have one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league in Ryan Tannehill. Oh, and I'm sorry, he got hurt. So now you have 2 quarterbacks you drafted, but you haven't developed at all. How's DeAndre Hopkins working out for you?
Yeah, football purgatory.
Yeah, if I'm Brandon Beane, I'm making a call there. Mike Vrabel, like, he should lose his job, but he won't. So that team is going nowhere, and I just kind of enjoy it.
There was what's the website? Is it Tankathon? One of the websites that give you the hardest remaining strength of schedule for the rest of the season. I don't know if you saw this or not.
Okay.
But the Titans are in the top 10 for toughest remaining schedule. Right now, they still have to play the Jags twice. They still have to play the Dolphins. They've got the Steelers. They've got the Seahawks. Team with the toughest strength of schedule. Want to take a crack? They have 11 games left. And their winning percentage of their opponents, their strength of schedule, the winning percentage of their remaining opponents is a .613 winning percentage.
I'm going to say, because they have the Bills twice, I'm going to go with the Patriots. No?
No.
Okay. Who do you got?
It's the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
The Cincinnati Bengals have the hardest remaining strength of schedule according to their opponent's win percentage. They still have to play the Bills. They still have to play the Niners. They still have to play the Chiefs. They have to play the Ravens still one more time. The Jags one more time, and the Browns one more time. Their easiest game left on the schedule is Minnesota. And right there with them is Baltimore. Baltimore is the second hardest strength of schedule. So, look, I'm bringing this up because it's early. We're through 6 weeks of the NFL season. It still feels early, but you know that we're going to get into farting around season here sooner than later, right? And when we're talking about teams, I think now that we've got 6 weeks of data, we can kind of accurately identify teams who will be, we call it farting around, but you know what I'm talking about, the teams that are in the hunt for a playoff berth. And a lot of times you see a lot of teams in the hunt, and obviously they're not all going to make the postseason. Some of them are frauds. Ultimately, some of these teams will not be playoff teams, but you can just expect to see them in the graphic. And I like bringing it up early in the season because some of these teams are so bad that it's kind of surprising that they are where they are. So when you look closest to home, the Jets, they'll be farting around. And when they beat Miami, one of the 2 remaining times that they play each other, they'll actually be doing the Bills a favor. The entire AFC North, as I just mentioned, with the strength of schedule, they're farting around. The Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, even the Browns.
Pause. Are the Browns good?
Browns defense is real.
Yeah.
Browns defense is real. Jim Schwartz, good to coach defense. Look, you benefit from your kicker, for the Niners kicker not being able to hit. It's always that's a weird stadium to kick in, man. Stadium gives a lot of kickers problems.
Yeah, I remember we were talking to Daryl Kuiper. Daryl Kiter. I forget his name. He's the Browns reporter. Ryder. Thank you, Daryl Ryder. And talking about how like the winds there off the lake, you need a kicker that knows what's going on, and certainly that did not help San Francisco yesterday.
The entire AFC South is farting around, and that includes the Houston Texans. Believe it or not, with their win over New England, the Raiders will be farting around. So will the Commanders, the Packers, even the Vikings will be farting around. You know what? I just realized, Gene, it'd probably be quicker just to tell you that the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants, the Broncos, and yes, the Bills' opponent this weekend, the Patriots, they're all done. They will not be farting around. Those are teams that really can start looking forward to next season. They're not going anywhere.
All right, so I'm breaking the draft seal, because we can do that here in the sports bar.
People have already been talking about Caleb Williams and which teams he will say he'll go to versus which ones he won't.
And I think it's relevant because the Bills are playing New England this week. And remember how this works. You can have a record, and the better your schedule is, that actually hurts you in the draft order if you end up with the same record. So right now there are 5 teams at 1-5. And the team with the best percentage here of opponents is actually New England. So instead of picking second, they would be picking sixth right now because of their strength of schedule. So it's New England 6th, the Giants 5th, Arizona 4th, Denver 3rd.
I know where you're going.
Chicago 2nd.
Yeah.
And Chicago 1st.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Chicago could end up with the top 2 picks, remember, because of the trade with Carolina.
Right. And they'll still screw it up. Don't worry.
Oh, you have to love the fact that Carolina.
I can't wait for April. Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be exhilarating. My highlight, draft night. Can't wait.
Oh, now that we've gotten to Survivor season, it's just joyous. Like, Carolina was up 14-0. Did I text you yesterday?
No, you didn't have any panic, no sweat, no fear.
Nope. I'm like, okay, that's cute, good. And then, Miami just kind of moved him over. But, oh, wait a second. Carolina's on the bye. Oh, no, we get Denver playing Green Bay. We get some bad teams playing each other like the Bears and the Raiders. Ooh, yeah. The men from the boys this week, if we're still allowed to say such a thing, that will be the theme this week for Survive in Advance. Hopefully you listened to our advice and you didn't take the Niners, you didn't take the Eagles this week, and you took Miami. We're still going, so tomorrow, 4:25, as we are doing all of our simulations. We are really bearing down. We're talking to people. We are going to make our selection with confidence here in the sports bar tomorrow.
I'm bummed that I won't be here for it tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm off. I'm being a good dad tomorrow. It's my daughter's golf banquet at Mercy, so we'll be taking care of that tomorrow evening and a round of golf with her and her teammates leading up to that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to her golfing better than you.
She's almost there. She's almost there, and she will. But when it's all said and done, she will be a better golfer than me. I'm convinced of that. We got to get to Ryan Talbot, but I know you had more that you wanted to bring up here. I'll drink to that.
Just to point this out, dumbest trades in New York Yankee history, right?
No,
old-time Yankee fans remember Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps. Seinfeld made fun of that, right? Jordan Montgomery for Harrison Bader. Yes, the Cardinals moved on from Jordan Montgomery because, well, they were out of it. And it's a painful reminder last night for Yankee fans that there's Montgomery dealing for the Texas Rangers. That should be your guy. And Mike Danger, I'm cutting you off here. This is not the same as Verlander and Scherzer getting dealt off because the Mets were out of it. The Yankees were a playoff team last year, and they actually thought this would make them better. Yeah, it's one of the worst trades in New York Yankee history, and I just have to point that out.
Yankee fans probably won't disagree with you because they're sensible, but they're going to look at the hat you're wearing today and be like, all right, we really got to hear it from you. We got to hear it from a social misfit. That we got to hear it from a Met fan that we made a bad deal. Okay, yeah, let's go down the list of every bad deal that the Mets have done. That's what a Yankee fan, I think, would probably do, just to throw it back in your face.
That would be like all your record guys and your neighborhood guys. Like, yeah, let's go over everything.
Yeah. Let's review the. Let's go to the tape. Let's roll the tape. Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com. He was at the game last night. Let's get his takeaways from a Buffalo Bills win on Sunday Night Football against the New York Giants. He'll be joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite.
Rochester Sports Update.
Sean McDermott giving some updates just now on injuries. First, good news for Damian Harris. He has been released from a hospital. He's got a neck sprain and is now in the concussion protocol. As far as Josh Allen, it is a shoulder injury. Allen is day-to-day and is experiencing some soreness. We'll talk to our buddy Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com coming up here in just a little bit. McDermott also talking about his defense coming up big at the end of each half.
Yeah, I mean, again, before half, they tried to run it, and our guys shut it down, and then the half ran out. And then in that one, they tried to throw it, and we made the play there too. So I'm real proud of the guys.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, it's Game 2 of the ALCS between the Astros and the Rangers. Game 1 of the Phillies and Diamondbacks coming up tonight at 8. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Really, honestly, I didn't have time because it was a lot going on there, as you said, and I'm just trying to manage the game more than anything. He knows. He knows he's got to be smart. But I'll say this: we're not backing down either. I don't want our guys backing down. But 17 in particular needs to be smart. He needs to let everybody else fight the fight for him, and he stays in the back.
There's Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott. Post-game last night. The Bills get the win, not in glamorous fashion against the New York Giants. Lots to unpack from last night's game in Orchard Park. So to do that, we bring in Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com. Ryan, I don't know where you want to start. I mean, they get the win. It's a victory Monday that feels like a blame assessment Monday, as we've come to call it here in the Sports Bar. What about Josh Allen? What about Josh Allen's comments about this team not being able to find a rhythm offensively? Last night, certainly against the Jags. Is rhythm the key to the Bills having success offensively?
I think that's part of it. I think that, they keep kind of shooting themselves in the foot. In Jacksonville, it felt like it, or against Jacksonville, it felt like it was a lot of penalties, a lot of negative plays that kind of stalled out their drives. Last night, it felt like the Bills would get one chunk play every drive, but then it would just kind of fall apart later on. The first drive had the tripping that wasn't called, little things here and there, but then mistakes that would kind of bring them back. And I don't know if it's a tempo thing. I don't know if maybe Brian Daboll's familiarity with this offense really played a role with getting Wink Martindale and this Giants defense prepared, but they've looked all out of sorts the last 2 weeks, and Buffalo needs to figure out something here going into this upcoming game against New England coming up in terms of, what are some of our strengths? How do we play to it? And how do we make sure that we get off to a fast start? Because if you would have told me the Bills would have been scoreless through 3 quarters last night, I would not have believed it.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, right? And it's also odd when you consider that the Bills had their longest drive since 2016, and that did result in points right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That I kind of said, Ryan, it was one of those games, though. I'm watching this last night, and I'm thinking, that sequence by the Giants at the end of the first half, the Giants get any points there, the Bills aren't winning that game. As soon as you see that, I'm like, all right, this game is only 6-0. The Bills should be able to, take care of business here.
Yeah, you would think. And I mean, listen, you look at the mistakes the Giants made in terms of points that they left on the field, and the Bills are very lucky in that regard. If they kick that field goal before halftime, it's a completely different ball game. They just need a field goal at the end of the game, and obviously a much different story there if that's the case. And whereas they probably should have passed it, obviously, before halftime, I was a little surprised they didn't run the ball with Saquon Barkley or let Tyrod Taylor use his athleticism. It wasn't a bad pass. I mean, it wasn't accurate either, but I liked the concept of the play to Waller. He had one-on-one. But, little mistakes at the end of the day is what helped the Bills really overcome the Giants in this matchup.
Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, joining us here in the Sports Bar. A couple of things to kind of dissect on the defensive side of the ball. We got to see Dorian Williams play for the entirety of the game, from what I could tell. Wanted to get your take on Williams stepping up now with Matt Milano likely gone for the season.
Yeah, I liked his performance. I thought he played a lot better than he did the previous week, where he was kind of pulled at one point for Tyrell Dodson. You saw the athleticism on display flying around the field. I know he ended up with 10 total tackles. He had a QB hit in the game. He seemed to be around the ball. And, there's no silver lining in Matt Milano being out for a long period of time. But getting Dorian Williams reps is going to help this defense long term. Even when Milano comes back, it might make you feel more comfortable with some 3 linebacker looks at times. Just getting these reps under his belt's really going to help. I was once again really impressed with Terrell Bernard and how he kind of navigated this defense, 3 tackles for loss himself. So it's a really intriguing and young linebacker duo that stepped up last night and kept the Giants, or played a part in keeping the Giants out of the end zone.
Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, our guest. Not on the positive side. I mean, Kyer Elam, Slayton had a few plays against him. I mean, if you're playing a top-tier quarterback, I don't know how that would have turned out. So I guess part one of the question is, how close do we know anything about a return for Dane Jackson? And then, part two, Ryan, Are you an advocate here of pushing for the Bills to go get a corner here at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I'm not against the idea of getting a cornerback, but again, whoever you get, it's going to take some time to get them acclimated to this defense, the scheme. There's a Dante Jackson, for instance, in Carolina. He was a zone cornerback. He's played really well in zone defenses throughout his career, and he seems like a great fit for Buffalo, but who knows how long it would take him to get acclimated, to feel comfortable in the system. I watched him get absolutely burnt by Tyreek Hill on Sunday afternoon. So even some guys with that might be a better fit for this system, they have their ups and downs too. Elam definitely got beaten last night along the sideline by Darius Slayton. He had some struggles. I do feel like he was in on more plays. I think that as the game went on, he wasn't getting, quote unquote, picked on as much. And a lot of that probably had to do with the offense they were going against in Tyrod Taylor, and they were trying to run the ball, and they were having success running the ball late. So against a better quarterback, you're right, it's still worrisome. Dane Jackson with that foot injury, obviously inactive this week. You'd like to hope that he's at least trending in the right direction. He was questionable going into this game. He wasn't ruled out on Friday. It was kind of we'll wait and see by Sunday. So hopefully trending in the right direction to get him back out there, because Elam, for all the ups and downs, you would much rather go with that steady play of a Dane Jackson right now and a Christian Benford. And listen, Benford gave up a play down the sideline as well yesterday. These guys aren't obviously going to be perfect, but Elam, the tape kind of over the course of the last 2 weeks has not been necessarily great for him.
Ryan, the flip side to that coin, if you want to talk about the Bills acquiring a player before the trade deadline here at the end of the month, would be adding weapons to the offense, adding weapons for Josh Allen. And when you see him target Stephon Diggs 16 times last night, you start to wonder, has Allen lost trust in his other receivers?
I don't know if it's losing trust. It's just these guys aren't getting open right out of the gate. And if you're trying to deliver the ball quickly, what are you supposed to do if you're Allen? I think that's a big problem for this offense. It's one of the biggest problems is Stephon Diggs can create off the line. He can create that instant separation. That's not necessarily part of the game for Gabe Davis, who can get open downfield. Dawson Knox, he's disappointed this season. The tight end position in general has. It's Quentin Morris of all the tight ends pulling in or hauling in the big touchdown among the guys that they have on this roster. Obviously, Kincaid out with the concussion protocol. Shakir's game isn't necessarily predicated on that. You'd think Hardy could with his speed, but yeah, they're having trouble getting separation off the line. And it's great for Stephon Diggs when he's posting 100 yards receiving just about every single week. But in these big games, the Bills need someone else to be able to step up and get open. And, there's no shortage of players that are going to be out there and available. It's just, can they do that? Can they execute in that area? There's guys like Jerry Jeudy who are speculation is they're available. Terrence Marshall in Carolina. Whoever the Bills do target, if they target anyone, I think getting open off the line, creating that immediate separation is going to be key.
We're talking to Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com, our guest here in the sports bar, as the Bills now turn their attention here to the Patriots. Ryan, isn't this hilarious? We live in a world now where this used to be the measuring stick for the Buffalo Bills. How are they going to match up against New England? And now almost you're kind of going into this, and yes, it's the NFL, and yes, the Bills are coming off an unimpressive win, but you're almost thinking, how much will the Bills win this game by? Your thoughts on the gap now between Buffalo and New England in this division?
The gap between everyone in this division in New England in general is enormous. Even the Jets are playing outstanding defense. They're doing enough on offense. Miami's playing at a high level. Buffalo, we know how great they can be. It's just now it's New England that's kind of in the basement of this division. And right now, I'm sure if you're a Bills fan, you're loving every second of it. Now, if it ends up being that they win the Caleb Williams or sweepstakes or something like that, then things can change very quickly here in this division. But right now, they're just really struggling, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Mac Jones really looks like he's lost any and all confidence that he's had since his rookie year. And last year was a disaster from the coaching standpoint. I thought they were going to be better this year. That has not really been the case. It's been an offense that's lost across the board. Stevenson at running back, Mac Jones, the wide receivers are just among the worst in the league. It's crazy how the mighty have fallen.
Ryan, I want to talk a little bit about the Bills' run game. We didn't really see it get going until the second half, and when it got going, it was mainly James Cook with over 5 yards a carry in last night's game. What is it that your eyes are seeing when you see the Bills struggle and trying to establish that run early? Because we see them do it. We've seen them try to do it now the last 2 weeks and just not have any success versus when they actually do get it going later on in games.
Yeah, I think last night they were really trying to send a message to James Cook that he needs to kind of bring the physicality, not just as a runner, but also as a blocker. He's still struggling a little bit in that latter category. But when he got into the game, he looked, like you said, really good. He ended up with over 70 yards rushing, over 5 yards per clip. There was one route that he ran that he was just wide open in the middle of the field, and Allen just didn't see him. It would have gone for a touchdown. It's little things like that where if he hauls that in, we're talking about James Cook's, his big day. But Latavius Murray, I will say, averaging less than 4 yards per carry, yes, but he did bring that physicality to this offense. I think 30 of his 45 yards, were after first contact. They like that about him. They trust him in those short yardage situations. It's good to get a little bit of a mix there. So I do like what I saw from that 1-2 punch last night. But in terms of establishing the run, I think there's a lot of factors in play. When the Bills are under center, I think that they're doing a better job of running the ball, passing the ball when in the shotgun. It's kind of hard to get that momentum going if you're Murray, if you're Cook. Defenses are kind of pouncing on it and stopping them in the backfield a little bit more than that. So there's a lot of factors in play, but Cook really did step up last night in the second half.
Also in the backfield now, do you know what the Bills might be thinking to do here, knowing that Damian Harris is probably going to miss a little bit of time here with his current situation?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing. Are they confident enough with Cook and Murray? Do they elevate someone from the practice squad for the next few weeks? Do they look outside and see who's available in free agency or in practice squads across the league? It wouldn't surprise me. Obviously the good news is next spring concussion protocol. But if you want to, really play it safe, you can put him on. You can, just kind of stash him away for a little bit, let him get better, recoup. He hasn't had a huge role in this offense in general, but the Bills probably would like to have another back on this roster, or at least that they can elevate on the practice squad as another option behind Cook and Murray.
Yeah, so, and again, I think, I'm going off of when they signed this, to my knowledge, Ty Johnson is still on the practice squad. This was somebody that was with the Jets for 3 years, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but really that would be like the only option. And Ryan, I'm a little fuzzy on Ty Johnson because he kind of came in late during the camp, but the Bills must have thought something enough to be, okay, you're our guy.
He could actually, from what I remember of Ty Johnson, Ryan, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I remember him being a contributor on special teams. He can return, and I also think he's a better pass catcher out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, that's, you guys pretty much summarized it right there. He started out with the Detroit Lions. He's a special teams guy, but he's had some success running the ball as well. He had when he went to the Jets, he had a 100-yard performance in his first year there in 2020. So he does have the ability to kind of run the ball as well, but solid pass catcher. That's still something okay to add to this offense because Murray can be your physical back that you want between the tackles. He shows that he can still do that at a high level, and then you can have a true pass catching option or just a pass catching option in Johnson, then a runner / receiving option in James Cook. So he would make a lot of sense. He made a great first impression considering they signed him on August 21st. He played in one preseason game, and that they were able to kind of get him to sign to their practice squad.
Yeah, I'm just looking up the stats right now, Ryan. 11 carries, 51 yards in that game against Chicago. Funny how, preseason game info just kind of evaporates from your head here, but it's like, you're like, oh, yeah, that game. I forgot about, this guy. We're talking to Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com as the Buffalo Bills coming off a win that maybe, I feel like I have to ask you this, Ryan, because it's been a topic maybe more so down in New York than up here, but that last play, are you fine with there being no flag on that? Should the league have, should there be any punishment for these officials that didn't call a penalty on that?
Well, I mean, even if there is, it's behind closed doors. It's kind of a slap on the wrist. You might, in terms of their assignments, things like that. But you watch it back, yes, Taron Johnson definitely was tugging on the front of the jersey. You can also say that Waller, though, had contact with Taron Johnson's helmet. It's just one of those plays where he was playing on the ball. He did make a play on it. He was able to knock it away. So that kind of factored into it as well, where I think the untimed down came because there wasn't enough of turning the head looking back for the football. So there's a lot of little factors that come into play. I don't think that I saw one theory that they didn't want to throw flags on consecutive plays. I don't think that the refs are going to hold on to a flag just because they called one on the previous play. So it was definitely a physical play, but I was okay with the ref holding on to the flag in that situation.
Ryan, I want to bring up something that I don't know if anybody's talked about. I mean, the football gods are cruel when you think about it. Last night, the Bills, playing the Giants, had their kicker miss not one, but two kicks wide right.
Boo.
52 and 53 yards. I mean, he'd been perfect all season long, but there wasn't really any wind at the stadium last night. Well, are we concerned about Tyler Bass? And we know that a lot of the kicking game comes with having confidence, and boy, that might rattle him a little bit there, that this game maybe didn't need to be as close as it was if he hit some of those field goals.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say that there's any confidence concerns because you're right. He's pretty much been perfect going into last night. These were two kicks that were plus 50 yards, and he has the leg to make them, obviously. But both of them did sail to the right, as you mentioned. The fact that the Bills were able to overcome two kicks, missed kicks like that, and still win the game says something. They set up the Giants with a really good field position late after that second missed field goal. So, you obviously want him to make those and to put this game away, but Tyler Bass is he's pretty far down my list in terms of concerns, because this is an offense that should have been able to put up a lot more than just 14 points in general as well.
No doubt about it. Ryan, I feel like I'm doing this interview in reverse with you, but I haven't talked to you. How was London? What was that like going overseas? Did you get to check out some of the sites while you're over there?
Yeah, we had an unbelievable time in London. My wife came along with me as well. So there were a few days we had some time to go see the sites. We actually saw Wicked the first day that we were there before the Bills had arrived. So we took in a show, did a lot of the sightseeing. But just in general, just a great place. It was great to tour the stadium ahead of the game. It would definitely just go back in general on a vacation if the opportunity ever presented itself.
Ryan, it's Patriots week. What, if anything, has you nervous about the upcoming trip to Foxborough?
Well, I just think it's the Bills having to get in some kind of rhythm on offense. There is some talent on New England's defense. Obviously, they've lost some players, Christian Gonzalez being one who I thought was really playing well as a rookie for them. Judon's been dealing with some injuries, but there's still talent there. And if the Bills are kind of sleepwalking through this game, much like they did much of the Jacksonville game and against the Giants, the Patriots will find a way to kind of hang in there, and that's the worst case scenario when You're still trying to win this division with Miami playing good football right now and trying to stay in this playoff picture with a lot of talent in the AFC in general.
Ryan, I was joking with your guy Matt Perino last night as that one little booth right to the side there in the press box where he's walking in. I'm like, look, if you're having connection troubles with Ryan, just know that I'm right around the corner here. That like I'm ready and available to step in on the Shout podcast.
I love it. It's like going to the bullpen. When you need to bring in the closer, you're there and you're waiting. So I love it.
I thought you were
going to say, like, when we need to go to the minors and call somebody
don't
up.
encourage this behavior, Ryan.
Oh, never.
Don't let Gene put his foot and wedge his foot in the door. Don't give him an inch. Come on now.
Hey, you guys are always both welcome.
I appreciate that, Ryan. What are you guys working on this week that we can get ready for here as we get ready for New England on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to be putting out a piece on why Bills fans should be encouraged and worried based on yesterday's performance. I know Matt has a few pieces that he's coming out with the next few days, but just like the Bills themselves, it's going to be Patriots week as of probably tomorrow. We'll start previewing that matchup. We'll have our Wednesday episode of Shout. We'll have a preview on Friday and get Bills fans ready for that AFC East battle.
Ryan, appreciate you, and we'll see you out the stadium here in a few weeks. Thanks so much, Ryan.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan.
There's Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, joining us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in ER, goodsmokebbq.com.
We got to get better at everything, and we got a very difficult opponent. They play offense well. They play defense well.
Coach, there are rumors circulating, Coach, that you might not be as focused on your job as you once were. True or false, you were spotted in a Boston karaoke bar singing the YMCA last week.
I have to... You want to ask a question about the game? We can talk about this week's game.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can talk about this week's game.
All right, you coward. Start Cunningham. Why didn't you do it week one? You should have started in week one when we all saw what we saw. In the preseason, that guy, look, it's the preseason, but
Mac Jones is our quarterback.
Yeah, good luck with that. Patriots week, it'll become a little bit more crystallized tomorrow, but as of right now, we can kind of start to look ahead. Yeah.
Oh, the cheaters are down. They haven't gotten an out yet. They're down 3-0.
Yeah, Valdez is getting teed off on by the Rangers here in the top of the first. It's already 3-0, no out, 2 on, and Valdez is in trouble early here. Look, it's the first inning, but no outs.
Can we just hit the fast forward button to Rangers-Phillies World Series?
Give me that. I'd like that. You got a couple of rowdy fan bases right now, and I think the Rangers fan base is feeling themselves as well. I agree with Catalana. I think that the bank is the best atmosphere right now in Major League Baseball as far as tough places to play. That's not going to be easy for any team to go into Philly if they advance to the World Series. So that's game 2 here of the ALCS. Game 1 of the NLDS later tonight between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. We'll keep you posted on all of that. Happy hours coming up next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so we got lots of time for your calls now. So we appreciate Mike Catalana coming on. We appreciate Ryan Talbot coming on. And now it's your chance to come on because what you saw last night, look, I had to apologize to Bills fans. I'm sorry to everybody around the nation having to watch this last night. That was just not quality football.
But also a pretty thrilling ending. It always feels like a lot of the times when the Bills are in prime time, you might get kind of these duds of games, but they're never really blowouts. They're never really out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the Patriot game, just because Patriots are in the mind. Even the win game, the Patriot game, it's like it wasn't a great football game on a Monday night, but it wasn't like the Bills were out of that game, right?
No, they still had a chance in the second half.
That's right.
One of the things that was concerning last night? After all that, and you had 0 points through the first 3 quarters, you had a chance to close it out, and you didn't. You gave the ball back to Tyrod at the end.
Just disrespectful. We're going to give you the ball back knowing you're not going to be able to score on us. That's you saying,
Yeah.
Sean McDermott saying, my guys are better than you. My defense is better than anything. And again, we mentioned this earlier. For all of last week, so many people wanted to bring up Brian Daboll knows the Bills. Brian Daboll knows the tendencies of Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Yeah, that's a two-sided coin. And Sean McDermott knows the tendencies of Brian Daboll. Somebody in my feed said that the post-game handshake wasn't all that pleasant. Did you see any of that?
No, I didn't see any. I didn't see it at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody knows. Just kind of.
Yeah, I wonder if they're, like we had, we speculated their final year together that it probably wasn't going well.
Well, the fact, and again, I went to the McDermott press conference and he didn't make any reference to Daboll. That's not to say that, about anything. And Daboll didn't make any reference about McDermott. I did ask Tyrod the question last night. Look, does this loss hurt any more knowing that it was against that team that kind of gave up on you? And, of course, he's not even going to take the bait there. He's like, no, well, they all hurt. Okay, great. But if he had won, if Tyrod Taylor came back and outdueled Josh Allen, we were 1 yard away from that last night.
And all you really needed to do was hand it off to Saquon. Hearing Catalana say how upset Saquon was coming off the field or walking off the that's intriguing as well. Like, yeah, now you've got a lot of dysfunction. You've won one game all season, but knowing that the head coach and the running back don't see eye to eye and how the game is going and every player wants the ball in his hands. I get that, but in this case, Barkley has a point.
Who are you paying on that team? You're paying Saquon.
Correct.
You're not paying him to be a decoy.
Let's not overthink it. Yet they overthought it. Happy hour on a Victory Monday, which feels a little bit like a blame assessment Monday. Well, we'll take your calls and discuss it at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326, the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. It's me, Mike Danger, for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, join me. If you're a new customer, you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, if you've been thinking about joining on FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. It's NFL season, man. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, everything from spreads to player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike to join me. FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and kick off the NFL season with me on FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen is day-to-day with shoulder soreness. This is according to head coach Sean McDermott. Running back Damian Harris, he's got a neck strain and is out of the hospital. Harris, though, remains in the concussion protocol. McDermott admits last night, that wasn't pretty.
Again, gutty performance, resilient. Sometimes you got to find a way. You don't have your A game, and you got to figure it out. And I thought our offense did a little bit of that in the second half, which is good to see.
Game 2 of the ALCS going on right now. The Rangers putting up 4 against Framber Valdez and the Astros in the top of the first. Astros coming to bat. Game 1 of the NLCS coming up tonight at 8 o'clock. It's the Phillies in Arizona in Philadelphia. The Sabres off to an 0-2 start on the season. They're back home tomorrow night against Tampa Bay. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
An untimed down for this Giants offense from the Bills' 1-yard line. It all comes down to this.
There's the snap. Fakes the handoff. Throws it into the end zone. It's incomplete. Intended for Darren Waller. Taron Johnson in coverage caused enough disruption to force the incompletion. The game is over, and the Bills escape.
Unbelievable, tough, gritty win, but man, was it ugly. And it was excruciating for Bills fans. Man, it was painful to watch.
It's a win. It's an ugly one. We'll take it.
It was not easy. I'm proud of the way the guys found a way.
Mike Danger.
I say it all the time. Winning is one hell of a deodorant. And, hey, it is.
Gene Battaglia.
Yeah, they won yesterday, but I don't think you get a cookie for yesterday.
No cookies. No cookies at all.
Cookies. This isn't Dion logic. A win is a win. A loss is a loss.
The Giants made history last night.
A terrible mistake by the Giants as they don't get the playoff and get no points out of it.
What are we doing? 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It is happy hour in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're along for the ride at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Maybe you're watching on the stream at The Fan Rochester on YouTube or Twitch. You can certainly join us on a Victory Monday that feels like a blame assessment Monday. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in the new location, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. We're also on Twitter. You can reach out to us at The Fan Rochester. One of our regulars, Jack, wondering about pickles on a plate. I think I will try that. Also, is there any way you could book Mike Catalana every day of the week? I don't think I would ever tire of him zinging Gino and the Met fans.
Unless I got a message on YouTube today.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
about, bad contract. How about Bobby Bonilla? I'm like,
yeah, the
thank
Bobby
you.
Bonilla contract is still the best. Yeah. And also on our Twitch stream as well. At the Fan Rochester, YouTube and Twitch, like and subscribe. We've got the chat room up in both of those, and we've got a message in on the Twitch stream as well. We need a Beasley-type slot guy. Hunter Renfrow isn't doing jack in Vegas. He would be a good fit.
I would love Hunter Renfrow, but it's like, right. That's the weird thing. It's like Josh Allen doesn't have confidence. I'll say this: where we sit in the press box, I'm not Mr. All 22. Okay, I can't point like other guys can, but you can see if guys are open. And there was one play Ryan Talbot kind of pointed out that in an unsettled situation, a scramble kind of to the left, Cook was open, Allen didn't see him, but for the most part, when it comes to separation and the way the Bills like to get the ball out,
it stigs.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not Davis's ball game. It's not Knox and Kincaid not being there. Maybe that was going to be the plan. I think this is a funny piece of audio. Maybe funny is the wrong word, but I think it's interesting. This was Sean McDermott's Zoom press conference. Okay, this happened about an hour ago. Mike Danger, you let me know, is this a question that you think is worth discussing?
Sure. Hello, Sean. I was wondering how much consideration you would be willing to give to someone else on your staff calling the offensive plays.
Yeah, 0.
That's it. That was Tim Graham of The Athletic with the question.
I mean, it's a ballsy question to ask. I like that he asked the question. It's a completely fair and legitimate question to ask. You kind of know going into it the unlikely nature that Sean McDermott's going to give you anything other than what he gave you, which is, of course, I'm not doing that. Even though in the back of his mind, he might be thinking, whoa, what are we going to do?
Well, there's nuance to everything, right? So if McDermott answers that with, well, yeah, we got to take a look at everything. No, he didn't fluff it off. It was like zero.
And you don't want, look, Dorsey, I still think Dorsey is good at his job. I know a lot of Bills fans will disagree with me on that, but I think he's good at his job. And I think right now, you're not going to get anybody better than what you have in Ken Dorsey as far as calling plays for this offense right now.
Right. Okay. So everybody, and how many times? Oh, with Daboll. Daboll called the pass on 4th and 1 when you have Saquon Barkley. Thank you. That's it. No more argument with Brian Daboll. He's not a good coach.
I felt like an outcast when I said it last week. I was worried that I was going to get...
There it was on display. You were right, Mike Danger. No one cares, but you were right.
I just think, some guys in the NFL are just better suited as coordinators. That when you are a head coach, you have to carry yourself in a different way. You have to act in a different way on the sideline. You have to act a different way after the game. You have to be humble. Like, I don't think what Robert Saleh is doing right now, I think that's going to come back to bite him in the ass.
What about that? We were shutting down quarterbacks.
Yeah, we ran through a gauntlet of quarterbacks and we embarrassed them all. Whoa, buddy. You haven't won anything yet. Nice win beating the Eagles for the first time in your franchise's history, but you haven't won anything yet. So I think you have to act in a different way. And the way Brian Daboll acted after the first half was kind of like not what you want your head coach to be. You just don't want your head coach undressing the quarterback as you go into the locker room or telling the reporter on the sideline, yeah, I can't answer any of your questions right now. I'm too distraught. I'm too upset about what my head's not more. You're telling us all we need to know. And for all of the talk that we had last week of everybody saying, well, Brian Daboll knows Sean McDermott, knows Josh Allen, and he does. And that probably played into last night's outcome. But there's a reverse side to that coin as well. And Sean McDermott certainly knows the ups and downs of Tyrod Taylor and of Brian Daboll.
When do you see a head coach explode on his quarterback the way Daboll did last night? Because yes, Tyrod, to his credit, took the blame on that. That was his fault at the end. You cannot audible out of that. But ultimately, isn't that a coaching thing? Like, shouldn't you have drilled that into your player's head? Hey, here's when you can audible, and here's when you can't. And you can't do this when we're under 30 seconds or whatever it is.
It's just a lack of self-awareness. It's a lack of awareness of the moment that you're in to know we don't have timeouts. We don't punch this in. It's over. So we can't run here. We've got to take a shot at the end zone. I mean, it almost felt like Tyrod was still playing for the Bills. When you look at that stat line, Tyrod's stat line was that was such a Tyrod stat line. 200 yards passing, 30 yards rushing, no touchdowns.
Well, last night, Danger, like a lot of us, I got out of there super late. So driving home in the 2 a.m. hour, and I'm listening to the Odyssey app. It's 24/7 for the fan in New York, and they're still reacting to what just happened. And I'm listening to their host in their extended post game tell everyone why Tyrod Taylor should now be the quarterback for the New York Giants, which is hilarious. It's just a beaten down fan base. I feel bad for them.
Desperate.
Yeah.
And just a year removed from Daniel Jones, we were all starting to wonder, is Daniel Jones good? You get to the postseason and it washes away a lot of the stink that you had before you got there.
Well, we were wondering if Brian Daboll was good. He was the coach of the year. And when you started off last year, you start off in Tennessee and they miss a field goal. You're driving down and, should we kick the extra point and go to overtime? No, we're going to go for 2 here. And they went for 2 and they gave it to Barkley and they won the game. Like, wow, that's the way to make a statement. And now Brian Daboll has just kind of
the Coach of the Year award is so fraudulent. I mean, that doesn't go to the best coach in any given year. It goes to the coach It's almost like a charity award. Like, oh, we didn't expect you to do well.
You overachieved.
You overachieved. You exceeded expectations. Congratulations, you're the coach of the year. It never goes to the best coach. When does a Super Bowl winning coach win coach of the year as well? You have to go 16-1.
Yeah, I think probably Belichick would have been the last one. No, I'd like to congratulate D'Amico Ryans in Houston for winning the coach of the year, because that's a team that will be farting around, might get the 7th playoff seeding. They'll get in.
Dan Campbell might, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
just to give him the acknowledgement, because right now you could make the argument that the Lions are the best team in the NFC, which is crazy to think, but it's not that far off base, I don't think.
No, you can write to us, our handle @TheFanRochester. You can call us. Our number 866-4FAN, 866-4326. As in case you're outside of Rochester, our area code is 585. As Chris from Kentucky, always. Chris, how are you,
that's
buddy?
one of our regulars.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Hey, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I am doing very, very well. And I was telling Gino during the break that I have become an apologist for Rochester food down here in the South. Or not an apologist, an apostle, I should say. I'm doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, you're an advocate for Rochester cuisine. I like that.
Yeah, now I posted the picture of the plate to my Facebook, and one of the teams from mine and my wife's church, saw it, and now she wants to try it. So, but I did not eat a plate last night watching that game from the drought era, victory, that type of game. That was giving me too much indigestion on its own. So I couldn't stomach a plate last night, but I did have a Red Hot, so I went halfway there.
Well, Chris, appreciate your thoughts on the game here.
My thoughts on the game was really that was a drought era type victory where you just hope and pray that the Bills do enough to get out with a victory, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be uglied up, and that's exactly what we got. And honestly, I thought that the officiating was a little bit suspect when their guy can be kicking Deion Dawkins in the chin and not get ejected. And I could understand why Josh would be really hot about that and wanting to go in and defend his guy. You don't want to see your quarterback fighting defensive linemen, but if his guy's getting kicked in the chin,
it though.
Yeah, I do not, because that can lead to bad things.
I like that. Yes, but I just think the message that sends to your teammates, who doesn't love that in that locker room, other than the coaches?
Of course, yeah, that's it. Chris, glad you are an advocate for our fine cuisine. We appreciate all your contributions to the show, buddy.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Even pickles on a plate. That's a contribution to the show. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. That's Chris in Kentucky, who sent us the image of somebody made a homemade plate, white hot plate, red hot plate, pickles on top
with shredded
cheese on top. I mean, it didn't look bad.
You can do your own plate, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can do whatever variation if you want.
Right. I know a lot of people put an egg on their plate. I know a lot of people put baked beans.
Yeah,
not for me.
Not for me.
But I know people will do that.
No, where else do you see, how long was that delay? What was it, 10 minutes? Roughly, after that fight broke out. Okay. All right, we're going to come back. We have 3 personal fouls on the Giants, bang, 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 and 1 personal foul on the Bills, and they offset. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was an unnecessary delay. Terry McCauley, out of all of the officials that do their thing on the broadcast,
does he do the most second guessing?
McCauley is the most critical. Of all of them. The other, Sterator and Blandino, to me, feel like they're still kind of shills for NFL officiating. McCauley doesn't hold back. That's not a foul. That is a foul. That's not a foul. Why aren't we going? We should be going right now. Who cares about the numbers? Let's go. Just get it done. Let's get this moving again.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. That's if there is one bright spot to the Sunday night broadcast. It certainly isn't Collinsworth.
Well, if you throw a punch, you're out. So what's the difference between kicking somebody then, too? I think that's what people were kind of upset about last night. To my knowledge, that's not the play that Josh Allen got hurt on. A lot of people pointing out to another time where he got hit. So
yeah, and you saw him. He was kind of like kicked his legs a little bit when he was on the ground. I don't know if you remember the replay, but he was in a little bit of pain there. And now the word is day to day, right? Is what they're saying. So it wouldn't be shocking if Josh Allen was on the injury report this week. It wouldn't be shocking if Josh Allen maybe took a day off of practice this week. So we might be, holding our breath here through the course of the week, hoping that he makes an appearance at practice on Friday. And if he does, then, he'll be good to go for Sunday's game in New England.
Well, this is what I just want to caution everybody. There are warning signs here. And we could just say, well, that was the jet lag in London. Well, it was Daboll doing this. Well. This is not a layup this week. I know we want to go, Patriots, everything else, but this is a Bills team that is not playing good football right now. Can we just kind of agree and start at that point? And how do they get back to it? And I think part of the problem is on offense danger, you have one guy, Josh Allen Truss, number 14. And who else is stepping up here? You could say that last pass to Dawson Knox, it might have been a little off the mark, fine. Knox has to come down with that. Gabe Davis, okay, yes, maybe getting tripped twice. Don't do that. Oh, and don't fumble as well. We talk so much about secondary scoring. How about the other guys not named Diggs on this offense right now?
Or is it a chess match in this case? You know who your opponent is. You know what he's going to try and do defensively. And you key on Diggs, so that the one opportunity that you have to scheme up something special to get into the end zone, everybody's focused on Diggs, and you come up with the play to Hardy, which I thought was fantastic. I didn't recognize the Bills' offense on that play. I'm like, what am I watching? Am I watching the Niners?
That looked like the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like that looked like that play where I'm going to put this guy in motion. There's Diggs. Everybody's eyes are going to follow Diggs. And
a little bit of creativity from time to time. Yeah. And I will say this too. I think I can't remember if it was Perino or who it was a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the play calling and Ken Dorsey. Like they're not going to. There's something to play callers in not showing your hand this early in the season. Like you can show a play here, a play there, but you want to be playing your best football at the right time, right? And maybe there's some stuff that's in the vault that you unlock and you bring out later. And that play last night, that first touchdown score by Hardy, man, I could get used to seeing more creativity like that. But not at the expense of other teams figuring it out where it gets snuffed out more frequently than not. That was a really, really well-designed play by Ken Dorsey. And I know Ken Dorsey has plenty of his critics. Hell, Sean McDermott was just asked whether or not he's considering finding somebody on his staff to call plays offensively.
Matt Barkley working out for the Giants today, which kind of leads me to think that maybe Daniel Jones will not be coming back. And if he's got this nerve issue in his neck, that may not put him back anytime soon.
No. There are teams right now in the NFL, you can say comfortably your season is over.
Giants are one of them?
Giants are one of them. I mean, I could tell you all the teams that are farting around, and it's a long, lengthy list. It's easier to just go around the league and say, all right, the teams that right now through 6 weeks, you're not making the postseason. You're done. I mean, those teams are the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears, the Giants, the Broncos, and the New England Patriots. You couldn't beat the Raiders? Brian Hoyer has to come in, and Brian Hoyer beats you? Aren't you embarrassed if you're Bill Belichick? Saying all of that, look, the Bills going into this game, and it's a divisional opponent, and they always play each other tough, but there have been moments where the Bills have absolutely put their foot on the throat of the New England Patriots. I don't know, man. I feel like the Bills, when they play against a bad team, we didn't see it last night, but generally speaking, when you play against a bad team, the Bills handle their business. And I expect that they'll do the same against the Patriots. The Patriots are a one-win team. They're a bad football team right now.
You just have to enjoy the gap between what is the... And Ryan Talbot's correct. It's not just the Bills. It's the division and the Patriots. Patriots dead last. And think they're going to go counterculture. They're going to play physical football. They're going to get the 10 wins. No, they're not. Doug and Rondecoy joining us in the sports bar. Again, our number 866-4FAN. Hey, Doug.
Gentlemen, how you doing? Happy Monday to you. Gee, you were talking about Brandon Bean and what they should do, maybe make a trade. I agree with you, sir. I think they should trade for a number 2 receiver and a linebacker, because if you look at the receivers, after Diggs, I mean, they got nobody. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're all middle 3s and 4s. Davis is overrated. He always comes up with an untimely turnover like he did last night. And I know Denver wants to trade one of their receivers. I think the Raiders. I know the Vikings are trying to trade one of their linebackers, and that would help subside the Milano loss.
Well, I'll push back on that. I thought Dorian Williams last night, Doug, he was everywhere. I wouldn't be so quick. I'll listen to your argument on a wide receiver. If there's a defensive back, a corner.
I think it's hilarious, though. I really do. I think it's funny that we have this conversation in October about the Bills needing a wide receiver. It's a real tough look for the Dalton Kincaid is a wide receiver crowd.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
when he was drafted, he's a weapon. He's a wide receiver. You can line him up in the slot. He can do it all. Can he?
I don't know.
Can he get open? Can Josh Allen trust him? Can you get him the ball? Or now do we have to give up more assets to add to a passing game that we thought was all set? Can Gabe Davis be a number 1 for another team? Yeah, probably.
Probably.
He's a number 2 on this team. And I think that, he can make remarkable plays happen just as frequently as he can make the boneheaded plays happen. And I think you ride that wave. I don't know if a player like Hunter Renfrow is worth the investment that you would make to bring him in here. I just don't know. I don't know that he's better right now than what you have in Deontay Hardy or what you have in Sherfield. And we haven't really seen them because Josh Allen is only throwing the ball to Steph Diggs.
Yeah, I have no interest in Jerry Jeudy. And as far as assets, the new thing, Danger, is if somebody's available, you do the old pick swap thing. I think we're going to go full circle here. I see this coming. Bye week for the Titans. They're not good. The contract that DeAndre Hopkins signed, it's affordable. That you watch. There's going to be more people speculating that's the guy that ultimately should end up in Buffalo. I don't know if he has anything left, though. Hard to kind of tell. Tennessee is a mess.
I haven't spent a lot of time watching Tennessee film.
Gross, yeah.
And I really don't have any desire to watch Tennessee film, so I can't tell you. I don't have DeAndre Hopkins on my fantasy squad. I don't know what he's put up as far as production is concerned.
No, but as far as a linebacker, I think the Bills made investments, 2 third-round picks.
Yeah.
And they were active last night.
I didn't have a problem with Dorian Williams' game last night. I thought he looked the part out there. He doesn't look like Matt Milano yet, but he looked good. And Bernard has been fantastic. 12 tackles last night, 3 tackles for a loss. The play where the Bills kept getting gashed and gashed and gashed, and they were running Barkley. The next series, they try that play again, and Bernard shoots the gap, and he gets in there in the hole, and he absolutely meets Barkley head on, sticks him. Loved it.
So we can't say halfway point or quarter point, but if the season's 18 weeks, we're at the 1/3 point. I think we could say this, right? Like Bernard over Edmonds?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we could say that out loud. Like we would okay, this is a small sample, everything. Okay, now that we're 6 weeks in, it's like...
No, you could see the mistakes and the cracks in Edmonds' game. The physicality was awesome. The idea that he was big and mobile and could go sideline to sideline. And I've seen this out of Edmonds. He's just never where he's supposed to be. He's just always out of position. And Bernard, I think, has a different level of discipline and is a true disciple of this defense. McDermott is molding him in his fashion. And I think he'll do the same thing with Dorian Williams. So that's encouraging. What isn't encouraging defensively is the play of the corners. Both Benford and Elam last night getting torched deep. Elam looking a little bit more worse for the wear than Benford. Benford making a couple of nice plays down the stretch to break up some deep passes. But get well soon, Dane Jackson, please.
Day to day, according to McDermott. So that would indicate that maybe you get him back for the Patriot game coming up. 5-1. Texas now up on Houston.
Yes, the ALCS happening right now. They're in the top of the third. And Framber Valdez still up there. He just got tagged earlier in this inning to make that score 5-1. We've got the NLCS tonight between the Phils and the D-backs as well. Monday night game tonight as well, Gene.
Oh, hey, we haven't even mentioned that.
Kind of excited for it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, and probably your fantasy league might come down to this. Cowboys and Chargers tonight.
Yeah, for sure. You're hoping for a lot of fantasy points. I like this. This is a trend that I spotted. And you know how I love a good trend. Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy have gone 7-0 against the spread against teams that allow 260-plus passing yards per game to their opponents.
But I don't know if you knew this or not. The offensive coordinator for the Chargers, Kellen Moore, worked for the Cowboys last year.
Oh, wait, so this is like the sequel to last night's game. Everybody knows everybody's tendencies. Well, knowing that the Chargers have allowed a league worst 299.8 yards per game, while the Cowboys have allowed just 168.6 passing yards per game, second best in the NFL, by the way. Gino, I might need a shower later tonight. I'm going to go Dallas minus 1.5. It's gross, I know. I know. It's gross. I know. I know.
I think you're okay with that pick. I think they rise up tonight.
And by the way, that's going to feel like a home game. That's going to feel like
for sure
AT&T Stadium.
For sure. 2. I mean, in Los Angeles, are there more Cowboy fans or Charger fans?
There are more Cowboy fans.
Fact. Yeah.
There are more Cowboy fans. So
there's probably there are more Raider fans that we know.
Yes. No question. You got to feel bad for the Chargers in that regard. Although I don't really feel bad.
No, I don't feel bad.
You stay in San Diego.
You took a big old fat check. Yeah. Congratulations, and this is your destiny. Yeah. Good luck.
So we got Monday night. We got another baseball game. We got Monday Night Football. Lots of action this week. And I know we'll probably get to this in shots, but I think it's probably worth mentioning before we take a break here. The Sabres are 0-2. Okay.
Mm. But when we get to shots, there's other things we can talk about in regards to hockey here locally.
Yes.
You kind of take your attention away. Like, yeah.
Tell us, Gene, what do we have coming up next?
We've got
the round of shots.
We have Amerks. We have, look, Notre Dame was beaten by a local school. I think that's newsworthy here. Also,
I want to hear about that.
Yeah,
that Saturday night sounded
it was
electric.
Rocking. Yeah, Dan DeLorean went. He didn't sneak in.
No, he didn't. You didn't have to sneak him in? Gene, what are you going to do this week now that all your friends are gone?
Right.
Hey, buddy, I know I haven't talked to you in like 3.5 years. Any chance? Wow, how you been? What's going on? Hey, what's happening at the arena on Saturday? I hear there's something big going on at the arena on Saturday. That you might have something going on. Something going on? Tell me.
Sure, yeah.
We'll get to all of that and more next. A round of shots on the way here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Bills quarterback Josh Allen is day-to-day with shoulder soreness. This is according to head coach Sean McDermott. Running back Damian Harris, good news today. He is out of the hospital. He does have a neck strain and is in concussion protocol. McDermott on his defense coming up big at the end of each half.
Yeah, I mean, again, before half, they tried to run it, and our guys shut it down, and then the half ran out. And then in that one, they tried to throw it, and we made the play there too. So real proud of the guys.
To baseball, where Framber Del Valdez of the Houston Astros did not make it out of the third inning. Texas leading Houston 5-1 as they're going to the bottom of the third. Game 1 of the NLCS coming up tonight. It's the Phillies and Arizona in Philadelphia. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Leader, 95.7 FM, and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is The Fan, Rochester.
You know, it's hard to watch the D-line, but his mindset, I felt like he's getting his mindset back, of now he's playing and he's a competitive guy. So he's only going to get better each week.
Was the goal coming in to kind of have him available in the fourth quarter as well compared to last season?
Ideally, ideally. The more, the medical staff takes, ups that rep count, then obviously the more he'll be available in the fourth quarter for us, which is important. So.
Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott on Von Miller's performance against the New York Giants. And by the way, while Miller was once again on a snap count, kind of invisible as a pass rusher, another sack for Leonard Floyd. A.J. Epineza was strong once again. He got another sack to go with 3 tackles and a quarterback hurry. So the defensive line remains a strong point for the Buffalo Bills, even with Von Miller not playing 100% of those snaps.
Yeah, and look at the defensive line. Like, they didn't give Tyrod 2 seconds on that game's final play. Like, they were coming full force. We'll step aside from football for a second. We did have the Amerks opening up over the weekend here, and we'll be talking to head coach Seth Apper tomorrow. I think he's going to be on a bus tomorrow at some point, but we're going to work it out. He'll be joining us as the Amerks are up in Laval coming up on Wednesday. They won in overtime on Saturday in Toronto. This after falling in overtime on Friday against Bridgeport. Now in Toronto is Yuri Kulik with a game winner. Rochester out shooting the Marlies 10-0 in the final 10 minutes. Michael Hauser with 39 saves in that win. Fun fact, it's the first time since October 2002 the Amerks have begun the season with 2 overtime games. As we mentioned, Laval, as we learn how to pronounce that suburb of Montreal. That is going to be Wednesday night, 7 o'clock for our coverage. Sellout crowd of the Blue Cross Arena saw the RIT Tigers shut down Notre Dame 3-0. Tommy Scarfoni, 36 saves for the shutout. In the preseason poll, the Tigers were picked to finish first in Atlantic hockey. The team that was picked to finish second, Sacred Heart, they come to town this week, Friday and Saturday at 5:05. And if you were curious, though, Danger, like, hey, Notre Dame, that's kind of cool. Who's coming in the future? Well, because they plan these things out years in advance. Here are the next 3 opponents. Next year, Bowling Green, then Clarkson, and then Michigan State coming in 2026.
Michigan State will be fun. Bowling Green will be fun as well. But yeah, when I think of like heritage hockey programs, like Michigan State's a sneaky, good heritage college hockey program.
Well, you add that to the resume here. So you've had Michigan come in, you've had Boston College come in. You've had some Hockey East teams, like New Hampshire's coming into the Policini, and they're not upper end Hockey East.
No, but that's a big program.
That is a big program.
It's a good college hockey program.
Yeah, so you are making strides here. And again, just some good hockey between the Amerks and RIT. And, well, then we get to the other team, the blue and gold Danger. And it's not yellow.
That is yellow. Don't tell me. I thought you knew your colors. What are you, 4th grader? 4 years old? You know your colors, Gene. That is not gold. That is yellow.
It is gold, but at least they were more competitive in their loss to the Islanders, 3-2. The game-winning goal appeared to be offside. Sabres challenged it. They didn't get it overturned. Now, on the positive side, Zach Benson had 2 assists, and he's doing what he can to stick around here at age 18. He's the youngest guy to have an assist for Buffalo since Pierre Turgeon in 1988. The team is back home tomorrow night against Tampa Bay.
Feels like a loss. I got to say, the secondary scoring that made us all nervous going into the season hasn't been the problem. It's been the primary scoring. The first two lines have been fairly invisible.
Yeah, it's been a slow start here. 5-1 is the score right now. Texas up on Houston. The Rangers putting up 4 in the top of the first. Astros get their run. Jordan Alvarez with a home run, but Framber Valdez already out of this game. Chances are you missed it if you're watching the Bills game last night. It was Texas winning game 1, so that would be kind of a blow there for Houston if they end up losing here today to fall behind 0-2. Tonight it's the Battle of the Zacks. Zach Gallen against Zach Wheeler. Zach Gallen, Arizona, Z-A-C. Zach Wheeler, Z-A-C-K. There's no Z-A-C-H. 8:07 first pitch on TBS.
I like a no-run first inning in this game, in this NLCS Game 1. Both those guys are elite. They're going to navigate the first without giving up any runs.
Finally, the Saskatchewan Rush. Now, they're a team that plays in the Nighthawks League, and, to try to drum up attention, they're going through a little bit of new uniforms. They're also introducing a new mascot, and when you're introducing a new mascot, you got to put it to a poll, right? I don't know, like somebody should put up their hand and say, this is a bad idea. Here's the poll you can go vote on, okay? Tell me if any of these names jump out at you. Bash, Buff, Franklin, Rowdy, Thunderhoff, Horny. The mascot does have horns on it, so I guess if you want to get the crowd going there, you yell Horny.
Yeah, kids, come over here. Let's take a picture with Horny. Thunderhoff is pretty dope, though. I kind of like Thunderhoff. Thunderhoff feels like what the Germans would call, because David Hasselhoff was so big. Yeah, Thunderhoff. Their nickname is what? The Rush?
Get rid of the Rush. What is that? Come up with a cool nickname.
What was is Saskatchewan? Is that the team that the old Nighthawks became?
No, that's Halifax.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
I should know that. So Saskatchewan Rush doing a mascot vote, and the names. Why Buff?
I don't know. Just strong Buff. I'm Buff. Yeah.
Rowdy's okay. Horny is my vote. I would cast a vote for Horny just because I want it to be a family-friendly event.
Yeah, everybody cheering Horny.
Hey, yeah.
Horny.
Kids, come here. Let's take a picture with Horny. And then you're slipping your 12-year-old a beer while you're at it. If you're going to the game, looking to take a picture with Horny. That's good. There you go. A round of shots in the sports bar.
The big Bills news today. Good news for Damian Harris. He is out of the hospital. I don't think you're going to see him anytime soon. What do I know? But a next-strain concussion protocol, which leaves you with just 2 running backs on the roster right now, Danger. Ty Johnson, does he get called up from the practice squad, or are you going somewhere else here? Ty Johnson was somebody that was on the Jets, tore his pec, and then the Jets kind of cut him, and then he came into camp late for the Buffalo Bills.
I think he's your guy.
Yeah.
I think he's your guy. He can do a lot of what... look, he's not going to be the bruiser, I think, that Harris was. So when you need those tough yards, I think you're going to lean on Latavius Murray. But he can catch balls out of the backfield. He's shown that through his career, and I think that might be how you would want to utilize him. Unless you have designs on somebody else's practice squad to find somebody that's actually more of a inline fit of what you're losing in Harris.
Yeah, just to review, Blackshear is not on the practice squad. He's on the actual roster.
Right.
Christian Wade, I think, is back over in England.
Yeah. Then the other guy that the Bills had, Darrington Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting reps in Chicago.
Oh.
Because Chicago is a mess in their backfield.
Who's going to quarterback the Bears this week, buddy?
It might be time. No, it won't. I don't think they would start Peterman. I think they're no. I don't think they would start.
They brought him back.
I don't think they would start Peterman. I think they'll give it to Bajent, who finished the game in relief of. That was the game I was going to go to. Can you imagine how angry I would have been at that game and the subsequent days after that game if I went to watch that?
Paid money to go.
Right. Right.
You're like going for free.
Best decision I made all year, not going to see the Bears host the Vikings in week 6.
I'm sure you can get cheap tickets later on as the weather gets colder, buddy. Go check out,
No, what's funny is I was going to buy tickets. They were going to be very easy to get for the Viking game, but then they beat Washington. And because they beat Washington, all of a sudden, like, oh, let's go. I'm like, no, what is wrong with you guys? No, don't you know how this works? Washington had a bad night. They're a bad team. And we have to keep reminding everybody in the NFL, you're not as bad as your worst loss and you're not as good as your best win. The Bills looked so good against Miami. They're not going to look that good. If they look that good again at some point this season, wow, that's really remarkable. But they probably aren't going to look that good again this season.
All right, so with that being said, where are the Niners going here if they don't have Deebo Samuel and they don't have Christian McCaffrey here for a little extended period? I think it's just kind of a speed bump. I think the Niners, in the end, will be in the postseason. That'll be the team you don't want to play. And maybe they get some losses here in October and November, but they'll be fine.
I'm getting some action on the Fan Rochester Twitch stream at the Fan Rochester. My favorite thing while watching the Bears play is how bad Tremaine Edmonds is and how he always looks out of position. You're absolutely right. And the moment I started watching him play, even in the preseason, I'm like, yep, that looks about right. Like, imposing figure, big physical guy, has all the physical tools, never knows where to be. Always in the wrong place. Always. Just salt in the wound. I would have been miserable today if I went to that game yesterday or tomorrow when I return. Whatever it was, I would have been miserable.
Be kind to either Bills fans that went to the game last night or just stayed up for the game. We're all just a little cranky today.
We're going to get to a round of, actually, last call on the way next in the sports bar. So we have time for your calls if you want to join us. The most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. We go to the phones. 585-866-4FAN, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, the new location at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. You want the best barbecue in town, it's Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub in ER. What do we got? Tomorrow, Tuesday, Good Smoke's chicken, pork, or beef gordita is only $3. That is Taco Tuesday. Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the
Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Last call on the Sports Bar. You can join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. Also on Twitter at The Fan Rochester. Hard stance, not calling it X. I know some people don't want to even acknowledge that the changes happened. Dan DeLorean won't update the app on his phone. He still has the bird logo on his phone.
I didn't even. Doesn't your phone automatically do that for you?
It's a setting. You can change it so that you can You can either have it automatically update or you can manually update it. And for those that have manually updated it, they don't even know what X is. So it's Twitter henceforth and beyond. It will be Twitter here in the Sports Bar, and you can reach out to us at The Fan Rochester. I'm at AKA Mike Danger. He is at Gene Battaglia. Appreciate all the tweets this afternoon, all the viewers this afternoon on the stream on YouTube and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. And, of course, if you're listening locally at 95.7 FM and AM 950, you should also know we sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. And if you missed any of today's show, Rewind lets you go back and listen to any part of the show you may have missed for the next 72 hours.
Now, Danger's golfing tomorrow with his daughter, so listen anyways with just me and Dan DeLorean. See, I said it before you could.
I got to imagine tomorrow is riveting, if only for your Survive in Advance pick, because this schedule for Week 7 is not a kind one for Survivor football.
No, it is not.
When you lay out the rules and you have the rules committed to memory and you look at the schedule, division game, favored on the road. Oh God, road team here, road team. Oh no, what do we? No, small spreads.
And then the bad thing is, like, you can clearly identify which teams are bad in this league. Carolina, the Bears, the Raiders. Well, the Bears and Raiders play each other. You can't do that. The Commanders and Giants play each other. You can't do that.
Right.
We have pick'em games with New Orleans and Jacksonville. Don't want anything to do with that. Sunday Night Football. Eagles and Dolphins. No.
Yes.
Have no fear, gentle listener. We will get you to week number 8 tomorrow in the Sports Bar.
I have a feeling we get through this week and we might be talking Survivor.
Don't violate any rules. I don't want to look ahead.
I'm not looking ahead.
Do not look ahead.
I just...
Danger sometimes, like at halftime when you're up, hey, look at next week. No, we're not looking at next week until it's actually done.
No, it was done. Last week was done. When I said that to you, who did we have last week? Detroit?
Detroit,
yeah. Detroit just rolled Carolina. We weren't.
Oh, this week, Carolina up 14-0. I'm like, ooh,
does
I'm
not matter.
Scared.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does not matter.
And by the way, in Carolina, I don't know if this was a product of one of his David Tepper meetings, but Frank Reich is not going to be calling plays when they return from their bye.
Yeah, I have a feeling Frank Reich will not be doing much of anything else by the time of the year.
I don't like these meetings. I have these meetings with the owner. They're intense. I don't really enjoy them.
It makes me better. Yeah,
but it makes me better.
Liar.
Okay, so now you're not calling plays anymore, Frank. How much longer until you're out of there altogether? He's not going to be there much longer. They're probably having buyer's remorse. What did we do? All right, tomorrow. Great show lineup. I won't be here, but Gene will. And Matt Perino will be here, 3:25 to talk Bills and Patriots. Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard. And, only half of his pain in the ass will be here tomorrow. That'll be Seth Appert, Rochester Americans head coach, stopping by for his Tuesday visit at 4:25. And it looks like RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson will be stopping by the Sports Bar.
He will be stopping by, too. They got a big weekend, too, coming up.
All right, so Gino's got the control of the Sports Bar tomorrow. I'm flipping the keys over to him. You'll have him tomorrow afternoon before I return Wednesday. Zach Gelb show on the way next on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams.